Good evening and welcome. All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Anna Braun.
Here.
Timothy Cummings.
Here.
Jamie Falco.
Here.
Louis Figueroa.
Here.
Lori Herrick. Lee Woo Hong.
Here.
Wilbur Pan.
Here.
Marian Tanyos.
Here.
Heather Gloss.
Here, we have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, and good evening. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published and posted at the Board of Education offices. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the New York Star Ledger, the Home News Tribune, the Alternative Press of East Brunswick, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast. It is the policy of the Board of Education that videotaped meetings are not edited for any purpose. Individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. All right, and we have a need for a closed session. Whereas the Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting, and whereas these subjects are within the exception to the Open Public Meetings Act and are permitted to be discussed in closed session pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12B, and whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows, as listed in tonight's agenda. Whereas the length of the closed session is estimated to be 90 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will be taken. Can I have a motion, please? Wilbur and Jamie, all in favor? Oh, sorry, discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, thank you, everyone. We're in closed. We'll be back in 90 minutes. All right, welcome back. We started a while ago, and we are glad to be back out here. All right, I would like to, before we start with the superintendent's report, welcome Jane. We are very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
We are very happy to see you. Now we'll go to the superintendent's report. We're happy to see you, too.
Thank you, President Gloss. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to East Brunswick High School's 7 outstanding students for being named semifinalists in the 2026 National Merit Scholarship Program. We are very proud of all of them as they embody East Brunswick High School's motto of achieving excellence with honor and integrity. We wish them all the best as they move on in the process. The Lawrence Brook Elementary School Kickoff Assembly welcomed students back and reviewed this year's routines and expectations. Principal Peter DiBernardi and the staff shared the school's theme, LB, Learning is Out of This World. And Principal DiBernardi read the story, We Are All Wonders. First graders at Frost Elementary School have been hard at work getting to know their new devices. They are showing great progress as they learn new routines and become more independent with their technology. And it's wonderful to see them settle into the new school year so nicely. Fall athletics are in full swing. Head over to our website to see the complete schedule for our sports teams and come out to cheer on our athletes. This past Saturday was our 3rd annual middle school field hockey quad. We had a great time hosting teams from South Plainfield and Sayreville, and it's always a fun event for our middle school field hockey program and a great way to kick off the new season. East Brunswick High School will be hosting its inaugural Tricks or Treats at EBHS on Wednesday, October 29th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. This is a community-centered event designed for our youngest learners. All pre-K to 6 students and their families are invited to attend. Our high school clubs and student leaders will transform the building into a fun, kid-friendly space with games, candy, and activities. Admission is just $5 per child, and parents attend for free. But just be aware, this is not a drop-off event. The 2025 East Brunswick Education Foundation Bear Crawl 5K Run, Walk, and Kids Races will be held on Sunday, November 16th at the Community Arts Center. The 5K will start at 8:30 a.m. and the kids' races will begin at 10 a.m. Information on how to register can be found on our website. And just a reminder, all schools and administrative offices will be closed next Tuesday, September 23rd, next Wednesday, September 24th, and the following week on October 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on to presentations and special reports, beginning with the 2024-2025 Assessment and Achievement with Dr. Lowley.
President Guas,
Yes.
can I say something before Dr. Bully start her presentation? So I got this report a few minutes ago. I'm a data guy. I need time to read, to digest, to analyze the data and try to figure out what the data tell me and what does it mean for our future. So without time, I don't think it's good time for us to do the presentation today. Therefore, for the sake of academic excellence, I want to table this, motion to table this presentation to next board meeting. And I suggest in future, any assessment, any review, or any budget should be presented to the board member at least 5 days. So we have time to read it, to study it, to find out what's the right thing to do.
Sorry, President Guas, is this the same presentation that was sent in the memo?
Dr. Bowley? Is
Is this the presentation?
Yeah, same thing. Last week it was sent to
Yeah,
me.
it was sent last week, Mr. Hahn.
I didn't receive it.
It should have been in the board run for every board member.
Can I check my phone just to make sure?
So the purpose for me to make this statement is we need more time to digest these important things.
It was sent on September 11th.
Let me check. So if I misread that one or ignore that one, I'm sorry, but my point is we need time to do it, okay? I'm going to check, you guys can move forward, I'm going to check my email.
Do I have to do anything with that motion? or
There was no second.
Okay, just checking.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight I'll be presenting our New Jersey Student Learning Assessment results. So as we get started, I just want to remind everyone that we are required by the New Jersey Department of Education to report out on our achievement for our subgroups. The subgroups that are required for reporting are listed at the bottom: female, male, non-binary, undesignated, Hispanic or Latino, American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Black or African American, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, white, 2 or more races, economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, multilingual learner, and migrant. Oops. Looking at our demographics, in the green column, we can see our 2023-2024 student body, district-wide. And then in the yellow column, we can see the new students who joined us last school year. We had 487 students join us last school year and participate in the NJSLA, and we can see our breakdown here. Now, before we get into our SLA results, it's important to note that the state has decided to do away with the NJSLA. So we will not be administering it any longer in the format that it is currently in. We're moving to an adaptive test. We are adapted, meaning that when students answer, the test is automatically responsive to their answers and will find an appropriate level for them, an independent level for them based on their answers and choices. We were told in the middle of August that we will be piloting the field test. The fall testing window is on the screen there. We're piloting that in grades 4 through 10 in language arts and math. And then in the spring, we'll be administering the true adaptive after the field test is completed. So in the spring, we'll be doing the adaptive field test, and in the fall, we'll be doing the adaptive field test, and then in the spring, we'll be doing the true adaptive test. And that's the same for the NJGPA. We'll be doing the field test this fall, and then we'll be administering again in the springtime for our 11th grade students. Pearson is no longer the publisher. These tests are moving in with Cambium Incorporated, but the science test will remain the same in its current format. More information will be forthcoming and will be sent out to parents as soon as we have that information. At this time, what we do know is that there'll be a reading test for an hour, a math test for an hour, and a 2-hour writing piece. So, looking at last year's NJSLA results in English Language Arts and Mathematics. In English Language Arts, the grade level exam was administered to our students in grades 3 through 9. And in math, in grades 3 through 8, students took their grade level exam, and students in grades 7 through 9 enrolled in Algebra 1, Geometry, or Algebra 2 took that subject level exam. Down at the bottom, we see the scoring and proficiency. There are 5 levels, 1 being did not meet expectations, all the way up to level 5, which is exceeded expectations. Here is our district year-to-year comparison for all of our students. On the left, we see mathematics with a slight uptick compared to the New Jersey average in red. And then on the right, English Language Arts, down a couple points compared to the New Jersey average in red. And now, looking at our subgroups, proficiency by subgroups. This is English Language Arts. On the far left, you'll see the key, GE, General Enrollment, SWD, Students with Disabilities, ML, Multilingual Learner, and ED is Economically Disadvantaged. We can see in the first column at the bottom in the dark green, 81% of our general enrollment students are proficient on the English Language Arts SLA. Our students with disabilities is 20%. Our multilingual learners is 5%. Our economically disadvantaged is 47%, and that all bakes into the 66% for all students compared to the state average of 53%. On the right, we see the proficiency by subgroups by school. And then on the far right, we're seeing additional NJDOE subgroups, gender and ethnicity. We are concerned with our subgroup proficiency rates, our students with disabilities, our multilingual learners, our Hispanic, Latino, and our Black African American students are performing with less proficiency than other groups, and we are aware and have identified those achievement gaps. Oops. And mathematics. Same layout, proficiency in the subgroups by test on the left, proficiency by subgroups by school on the right. Our general enrollment students in the dark green at the bottom, 76% are proficient, 20% students with disabilities, 18% multilingual learners, 39% economically disadvantaged, for an overall proficiency of 61% compared to the state average of 42%. On the right, we're seeing the breakdown by school, and on the far right are the additional subgroups. We took a look at our students by cohort, their performance level changes, where they were 2 years ago, and how the same children, the cohort of children, performed last year. And we are very encouraged to see such growth. These children either stayed the same, they would need about 25 points to go up a proficiency level, so these children made growth in their proficiency band, or they actually got the 25 points and increased. we took a look at proficiency by years in district, and we see that the district enrollment length does correlate to a higher proficiency over time. Students who are in the district longer are performing at higher levels compared to students who are in the district less time. Moving into science, students in grades 5, 8, and 11 are administered the NJSLA for science. This has a different scoring system. Performance levels are 1 through 4. The test is consistently under revision, and the validity of the exam has been called into question. Here's the proficiency rates. You can see in the red column, in the state of New Jersey, 26% of children can do science. Again, the test is consistently being revised, and we don't know if it will turn adaptive like the other pieces of the SLA. The future of this exam is unknown at this time. Down the bottom, we see our performance over the last few years, 43, 41, 42%. We're remaining consistent. Our general enrollment is 54%, students with disabilities 19%, multilingual learners 3%, economically disadvantaged 23%, and that's an overall of 42% compared with the state average of 26%. To the right are the additional subgroups and their performance, and we remain concerned about our Hispanic, Latino, Black, African American, students with disabilities, multilingual learners, and economically disadvantaged students. Last month, I shared some information about last year's graduating class. I'd like to provide some further statistics. We had 721 students. We had 1 early graduate. 5 students were out-of-district graduates. That brought us to 727. We have 15 students continuing on a 5th year with us this year. That brings us to 712 students. 17% of them are attending 2-year colleges. 75% of them are attending 4-year colleges. 13 students will be attending business or technical or military schools. We have 5 of our students joining the armed forces. 12% are going right to employment. And then we have 34%, including the 15 who are returning, and the additional students are unknown. To the right, we see ELA Graduation Pathway Report. 88% of our students met the first pathway and were graduation ready in 11th grade by passing the NJGPA. 55 students met at a second pathway through the PSAT, the SAT, or the AccuPlacer. We had 0 portfolio appeals. We had 17 students meeting an alternative requirement specified in their IEP, and 13 students are part of the 15 who are returning. Down the bottom in blue, for math, we had 77% graduation ready in 11th grade, passing the NJGPA. 125 students meeting a second pathway. We had no portfolio appeals, and 29 students met alternate requirements through their IEP, and the 15 are the students who will be returning for a 5th year with us. So this is the last slide, but it's not the end of the story. Actually, it's the beginning of the story. We know that assessment results provide insight to our students, but they don't represent the whole child. And it is important for us that we educate the whole child, not just their brain. And I know what we're seeing in our classrooms today, and I want to make it clear that many of our underperforming students are not struggling solely with academics. Their challenges go beyond understanding the material or the content being presented to them. Other factors are at play which directly affect their ability to learn and grow and thrive. Students in our classrooms today are facing food insecurity, unstable or unsafe housing, limited access academic support at home, reduced access to enrichment activities, fewer learning resources, including books, technologies, and quiet study spaces, chronic stress, academic pressure, chronic absenteeism, high mobility rates, mental health challenges, anxiety, depression. Some of our students are experiencing suicidal thoughts, family relationship challenges, social struggles, and friendship difficulties. These issues must be addressed before we can focus on teaching the content. If these issues are not addressed, the child will not be available for learning. As Mr. Cummings so duly noted at our last meeting, we're working to address diverse needs with fewer resources and supports, and this is a challenging time for all of us. However, as an educational community, we can and we must come together to find solutions because the children are counting on us and they deserve nothing less than our best. We need to enhance the current support systems to better meet our students' needs. We need to develop strong interconnected networks within our schools. We need to expand mentoring, counseling, and academic support programs to help our students navigate and overcome these challenges. I've identified 5 key priorities for this year to empower every student and family with the resources and support they need to thrive. Number 1, access and equity. We will provide all students and families with the necessary physical resources for success, including devices, internet access, learning materials, and even the basics like our student services hygiene drive, collecting soap and toiletries. Number 2, whole child and family support. We will extend learning opportunities through longer school days and extended school years for extra learning time. We will support student and family well-being with counseling and other mental health supports. We will engage more fully with families with progress updates, language assistance, workshops, and learning resources. We will involve parents in decision-making through advisory councils reflecting community needs. Number 3, cultural competency and responsive teaching. We will empower our educators to actively understand, respect, and engage students from all cultural backgrounds. We have and we will continue to deliver interactive workshops on implicit bias, equity, anti-racism, and designing inclusive instruction that drives student success. We will enhance culturally responsive practices in all of our classrooms. We do and we will continue to integrate diverse voices by embedding authors, histories, and perspectives that reflect our students' community. We will engage students collaboratively using culturally relevant examples that honor multiple viewpoints. And we will differentiate instruction strategically to support linguistic, cognitive, and learning diversity, ensuring every student thrives. Number 4, targeted academic support. We will personalize academic support through tutoring and summer bridge programs designed for students needing additional assistance. We will expand English language assistance and targeted support for our multilingual learners to strengthen language proficiency. And we will expand progress-focused interventions and use data-driven strategies to monitor growth and tailor instruction. And last, number 5, future readiness. We will equip our staff, audit our curriculum, and provide professional development programs to adapt to the changing demands of education. Only by working together will we ensure that every child in this district is successful. And I thank this board for your ongoing support. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, before we start with the questions, I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarification. This year, the board had moved to be, I am on, right? Board had moved to be more sustainable. So we get our information days in advance of the meeting, but this packet was emailed to us. We're trying not to print as much. So this packet was emailed to us on September 11th, but with several presentations at once. So this is a newer process to us. And I'm sorry I paused when you asked because I wanted to make sure there were no changes to this since the email before. I was like, yes, this is the exact same. All right, having said all that, does anyone have any questions for Dr. Bowley?
Yes, please, if I may.
Sure.
First, I want to thank you, Dr. Bowley. As always, I really appreciate your time and your thoroughness. I definitely appreciate your acknowledgement of areas where we can improve our opportunity for our disadvantaged learners. I have some clarification questions, please. In the definition of a student with disability, does that include children with 504s and IEPs?
IEPs, yes. 504s,
Okay, just
yes.
IEPs, not 504. Great, thank you.
No, she said both.
Oh, 504 as well, thank you, ma'am. Okay. What was not in your presentation is the Working Class Families Anti-Hunger Act passed in January 2024 by Governor Murphy. It changed the criteria for free and reduced lunch to 224% of the federal poverty level in an effort to provide additional resources, of course. Now, because these numbers are drastic, you have them as percentages. I would be curious to see the raw data perhaps at another time. That would also compare, had the criteria been different according to the 23-24 year, how many students would actually fall into this category for new enrollment. Just because the law changed, so I think that it's not a fair extrapolation to compare these numbers. They're a little misleading. I also want to point out, I noticed that our new enrollments, we have 41% Asian enrollment. I was pleased to learn from Dr. Pan over there that we have the highest percentage of Asian American and Pacific Islander residents in Middlesex County of anywhere in New Jersey, which I think is pretty neat. I love the diversity here. Okay, a couple other things really fast. Thank you for your patience with this. I noticed that English and language arts were down in 2025. I don't have a page number to reference for the ELA math district year-to-year comparison. I think that everyone can agree that there is a literacy issue across this country, and it's you know, again, awareness and finding ways to allow students who may have visual processing, dyslexia, and other learning barriers, finding ways to make sure that they're included in effective instruction opportunities. I noticed also on the next page that economically disadvantaged students on average perform 50% lower for criteria for proficiency than their general education peers. As you mentioned, there are a lot of socioeconomic factors, social factors, other things. You know, please keep your eye on these children. They deserve every resource we have. Furthermore, I noticed the same thing. The multi-language learners, the math numbers for proficiency were terrible. Math is the same in many languages. It's a universal language for many of us who are in STEM. So again, I question why these numbers are a little bit low when, you know, el número en español es lo mismo en inglés. And then my final just remark at large, I want to compliment you again. Your 5 points that were not actually written, but you verbalized them, I think they're right on point. Again, I would love to see this district innovate and look for opportunities for the deficiencies in visual processing that will look like dyslexia, ADD, and behavioral problems, but are truly a learning issue. The state and nowhere across this country has acknowledgement of these types of problems. These are very specialty niche things that people in behavioral learning are aware of, and I would love to see solutions in this district. So I challenge you to keep innovating the way you do. And thank you so much again for your time and allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Marianne? You ready?
Did you want to?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay. No, I was just going for where I saw hands when we first started. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Boley. So I did notice that there was a change in this because, like we requested last time, an analysis and then a plan, which I echo what Dr. Falco said. You presented that here today, but I do have some questions.
Yes.
So on the third slide, I believe those numbers look more alarming than they actually are.
Hold on, let me get there. Hold on a second.
Okay. Yeah, you just passed it.
Oh, here? This?
Yeah, this. So, you know, just, I'll take the economically disadvantaged because that's the first line. We're comparing in current enrollment for the 23-24 school year to new enrollment. So that cohort is smaller, so naturally that percentage is going to be higher. So I just calculated it for argument's sake. Let's just say that enrollment in 24-25 stayed the same. It would have been 8,197 students, just for argument's sake. And that would mean that if 40% of those new 487 students enrolled were economically disadvantaged, that would mean that there were 194 students that were economically disadvantaged, which would mean that that would be a 23%. That would make, so it would just be a 2% increase in our economically disadvantaged, which would, it's not really reflective here. Like
Okay, I'm
this-
sorry if this is unclear. I was just trying to reflect our new enrollments and the breakdown for the new enrollments.
Yeah, but.
I'm not saying it would change the whole population.
Right, I'm not saying that either.
Okay.
I'm saying that to say that we have a 2% increase in something is different than saying 40% of our new enrollment is
Right.
this.
Okay,
And then,
understood.
Yeah,
I can
as you
present it
go
that way
down.
next time,
Yeah,
no
it's just
problem. Mm-hmm.
clearer for next time. So, another thing is for multilingual learners, if our new enrollments went up by, so again, I did the same math, that would be 6.5%. Why did our Title III funding go down? I don't know if you would know.
Well, I mean, that's a issue with the,
All the title funds are formula-driven, so it's based on the enrollments and the number of students that are entitled to certain services.
But if multilingual, Title III funds are for English learners, correct?
yes, they are.
Okay, so if English learner funding went down and our enrollment went up, is there something happening there that we don't?
It could be tied to the amount of funds that were made available by the federal government. So we've seen reductions, we've seen a lot of ping-ponging happening with federal funds overall. So I would, right off the top, without looking at the data.
I have the
underlying-
data,
No,
so,
without
yeah.
looking at the actual grant applications. It's hard to say, but my guess would be that it's going to be tied to the amount of federal funding that was made available across the board.
Okay,
We could
so-
take a look at that,
Yeah, we
look at
can
the
look at
real
it.
data.
Yeah,
and
just to
report
make
back
sure
the
we're
board.
getting
Yes,
what
absolutely.
we rightfully
Yes.
deserve if these numbers were reported correctly, because that didn't make sense to me. And then I know that NJSLA is going away, so we've had a very, very big emphasis on NJSLA in determining how we drive a lot of things here. How do you plan to change that now that that's going away? And I think part of that is because that test is, for a lack of better words, flawed.
Yes.
And so, but a lot of what we do in district depends on that. So is there a plan here for what we're going
Yes,
to do?
we're meeting and discussing multiple measures, and not including that. I'm hesitant to commit to anything until we understand the reporting structure of the new adaptive test and what that might look like and how that might inform decisions. Not sure of the validity of the first year go with that as well. So, falling back on grades, our universal screener will provide information. So I'd like to just put a pin on that and come back to that after we know more about the new test.
Yeah, great. And, is it a reasonable request to say maybe we should just strive for excellence outside of standardized testing? Because,
That would be great.
yeah, that, I would love that. And then, sorry, just looking at both the NJSLA for English and for math, I don't have a slide number either, but, looking at our schools across the board, it looks like Bown outperformed everyone for language arts, and Warnsdorfer outperformed everyone for math. Are we tapping into those schools to see what it is that they're doing differently so
Yes,
that
we
we could
are.
have equity across the board?
Yes, we are, and the principals are doing walkthroughs with each other in the different buildings, led by our Director of Elementary Education.
Okay. One other thing I noticed on the NJSLA for the math scores, Math 8 was significantly lower than all the other grades, and that is the group of students who started Envision in 6th grade. Have we finally, identified that we have a problem there with those students who started Envision in 6th grade? Because they were at 32%, and the next highest group was geometry at 66%. That
Yes.
is catastrophic.
Yes. I'm not going to argue with you, yes.
Okay. That's
And
good.
also,
But what's the plan for them? Because have we addressed that,
yes.
Okay.
And looking at NAEP scores, this is a nationwide
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
The scores are declining across the board. Many articles linked to COVID, school closures, learning online, coming back hybrid. If you look at Jonathan Haidt's work, The Anxious Generation, he links a lot to cell phone use. About this age, adolescents are starting to get cell phones, social media. I think adolescence and this age group is a tricky age too. Motivation and focus and interest, peer influences, social influences. Students start, having test anxiety at this age. They understand the importance of grades. The concepts are more abstract, like algebra and critical reading and science reasoning. And through COVID, were the foundational skills not as strong as they should have been?
Yeah.
I don't think there's one quick answer. What I can tell you is, I don't think we can say, this is the one reason, and we will fix that. What I can tell you is what we're going to do about it. I have 2 goals, student-facing goals for our math program. Student-facing, identify and address gaps in foundational skills, address literacy barriers affecting math comprehension. Teacher-facing supports, provide math teachers professional development to enhance content knowledge, deepen conceptual teaching, and support diverse learners, and ensure that our curriculum, pacing, and instructional materials are fully aligned with standards and effectively support the teaching of grade-level concepts. Those are our goals in our math department this year, and that should bring results for our students.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, because this group is repeatedly the one that and it can't be a coincidence that we're, sorry, I think that was, and just overall, I think this is great that, on the, is it the last slide, second to last? No, not second to last. On the slide with students who've been in district longest, 65 and 71% is great. Can we aim to make that even higher? Because I think after that many years in district, we should have more to show for it, I would hope.
100%, and now that's all students. So when we work with our subgroups and we increase proficiency, that will increase overall proficiency for all students.
Okay, all right, that's all for me. Thank you.
Dr. Boley, thank you for your presentation. You outlined several areas that we have in need of improvement. Thank you for doing that. And you also addressed what we'll do in those cases. I would like to see those 5 points memorialized in writing with as much specifics as we can get, so we can, continue to watch and monitor as we go forward. In addition, are these plans to improve in the present budget, or are these things that we're looking to do in future budgets?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, funding continues to be a challenge for us. We did lose 4 supervisors, we lost some other positions, and the work is still there, and other people are absorbing. So we're making do with less, and we hope to maximize our title funding and hope to put in budget requests for the things that we see as critical in supporting the students in our classrooms today.
Okay, so if we could keep the board, informed of where we are with that, because these are our critical areas in need of improvement, I think we need to address them, so thank you.
Lebu, did you have anything?
Yes. So, Dr. Boley, I have to give you the credit. This time you give us your working plan additional to the data. That's a very positive development. Thank you. Okay, I have multiple questions. Dr. Titania, she said, okay, Warren Stover is high performance, but my focus is cheating. For last 5 years, if I remember right, cheating is always the lowest performance. So I don't know if you realize that. I don't know why the cheating community is always performing the worst among our elementary school. So I would suggest you do an investigation. Let us know that what is happening in that small community, what is happening in that building, and how you help them to change. Mm-hmm. Historically, this school is always fall behind. Mm-hmm. So we need.
But
we
not
have to
so
pay
much this
attention
year.
to them.
I meant to pull that for you. I knew you would ask that. How they performed last year and the growth for this year. I don't have that on me, but I'll get that information out. They've performed pretty comparably this year. They weren't as low.
But if you look at the number, they're always the lowest among our 8 elementary schools. Mm-hmm. Okay, that is my first question. And the second question is about the new adaptive format test.
Yes.
So is there any way we can, I'm sure our students, our parents will have very high anxiety level for the new test because they need to know what the test is and how to prepare for the test, additional to the knowledge they should have for the test. So I just want to know if you have any plan for such as the pilot test to let our students know what they do before they take extra test.
Yes, we're waiting on guidance from the state. We have no information regarding what the format of the test will be like at this time. As soon as we have that information, we will share that with the buildings. I don't know if there'll be an opportunity to practice, but our students are on devices often, so it won't be, new to them to navigate a device. The tests, to my understanding, are adaptive, so they'll be starting at grade level content, and then if you're getting some questions right, if you're getting some questions wrong, it'll take each child on their individual path, which the intention is to ease anxiety, because the child won't be facing difficult question after difficult question, getting them wrong. So it'll level it out for the child, is what we're being told at this time.
So my last question is about.
And I
your-
just want to note that the results will not be shared with school districts nor with parents.
So I'm not focused about the result. The purpose for our sitting here is to prepare our children for their future. Get them ready for their life, whatever they do. That's our purpose here. And my last question is, so you listed the key support and the strategies, and you emphasize the 5 key points. So Dr. Figueroa asked if we need extra budget. So I would suggest you do an evaluation to see what you are doing is not working and shifting the resource to the new area you are planning to do. Because there's no way we can get extra money, at least at this level. So I would suggest you shifting the resource around. So if something is not working right now, then let's move to the next support. At the end of the day, we just use the same amount of money to support our students for their achievement. Again, I want to give you the credit for the new development. Very positive data plus your plan. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna pop in here. We'll just keep going around if that's okay with everyone. I wanted to thank you for the presentation. I wanted to thank you for the focus. I like data. I always feel very conflicted as an educator because I want instruction to be data-driven, but then as somebody who's in a classroom with children, I hate standardized tests with my whole heart because of the stress and anxiety. And I have the same concerns you do about a new test, because every time the state rolls out a new test, we all know that the first year and possibly the second year lack validity. And it's just, the children are kind of guinea pigs for a year or two. And I question its data all the time. But at the same time, I want data-driven instruction. So it's a catch-22. I do appreciate in your 5 points and a lot of your comments that we're talking about the whole child rather than the children are just all the same raw material moving through like little blueberries. And, in teaching, we always talk about Maslow's before Bloom's. We have to meet their needs as a human before we can they can't be available for learning. So I appreciated that your 5 points at the end really spoke to that. And I appreciated that the goals that you have are both student-facing goals and teacher-facing goals, because I think sometimes we focus too often on one side or the other. So I appreciate that we're looking at both. I did want to congratulate, just looking at this as somebody who spends too much time looking at the portfolio appeals. Portfolio appeals are for students that have not passed at any other level, and that we had 0 in both math and ELA is a huge accomplishment. I wanted to ask, I had just 2 questions. When you were talking about in our goals, the 5 goals, or the plan, you were talking about an extended school year. So we're talking about like trying to establish an ESY program beyond?
Yes.
Okay. Because like the part of me that wants to see the children develop loves that, and then the part of me that looks at the budget is freaking out a little bit, but I would love to see extended school year for the students that really need it for the scores. I also wanted to ask, for our students that, I think it was like 15 students that did not graduate and that remained, are these students that did not meet graduation proficiency requirements, or are these students whose parents chose to keep them for the extra year because they're allowed to with their IEP?
Yes,
The second?
yes.
All right. Thank you very much for the clarification. Tim?
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Couple quick questions. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So NJSLA is no more?
Correct.
So we will not be hearing NJSLA? We will not
Well, it'll be adaptive now. It's a completely different test.
So just for the language purposes for the community, we'll be calling it adaptive testing?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and that starts now?
Now.
Okay, cool. And that's,
When we were just told
what's that?
weeks ago, yes.
All right,
that's
cool. Thank you. So, and fellow board members have alluded to this, but that's new software that's coming in that the students will
Yes,
be.
it's going to be a big lift for the district.
It would be,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so I'm assuming training will need to occur for the
Yes.
people who are administering.
Yep, that's
Do-
right.
And have we started that?
No, we don't have any of the information yet. We're waiting on that.
Okay, do we have a plan ready to go when
Yes,
that?
100%.
When is
All
it-
of our school testing coordinators are ready. They've gone through the training with the state. The state training has only really been about the technical piece right now, so
Mm-hmm.
we don't really know what the actual student experience is going to be like.
But that's starting on October 27th,
That's right.
so a little over a month from now?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. That does not sound good.
Yep.
Okay, that's not comforting.
The state is famous for giving us plenty of time.
Yeah. So, I have two more questions. The year-to-year comparisons for the math and English. Math, slow, kind of creeping up over time, which is good. ELA has been declining. So I guess my question for you is twofold. One, what are your goals for this year in terms of percentages there? And, how are we going to go about it? I mean, you've shared ways that you think, approaches we need, but if you can be a little bit more specific about, especially with ELA, I mean,
Yep.
it's slowly declining.
Right. So again, why? What's that one reason? You can't answer that. There's so many reasons. Last month, I shared the 144 students who took the DLM last time, and now they're taking this test. We see our multilingual learners increasing. There's 100 reasons why it could be going down those 3 points. Our goals: student-facing, implement engaging, culturally and linguistically responsive, evidence-based reading programs aligned with the science of reading. Continue to provide high-interest texts, nonfiction, and graphic novels to increase engagement. Teacher-facing, K-6 reading screener will guide timely, differentiated instruction and early evidence-based interventions. We will provide ongoing professional development in the science of reading, differentiated strategies, and accommodations. We will ensure our curriculum, pacing, and instructional materials are fully aligned with standards and effectively support the teaching of grade-level concepts. Those are all goals for the
Yeah.
ELA department this year.
Thank you. What about in terms of percentages? I mean, what do you think is like a reasonable, if we were at 61% in math and 66 in ELA, what do you think
I
is
mean,
like a
it's
reasonable
really hard to
goal?
predict because every year, the cohort of students is different. So I think like the state model, moving more towards a growth model
Mm-hmm.
instead of this is the cut score and are you over or under? Have you shown growth
Yeah.
along your own learning trajectory?
And should we expect that because we're moving from one software to the other, that there'll be potentially a larger discrepancy in those percentages?
I mean, I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
answer that. I don't know, we don't know what the reporting structure is going to look like.
Yeah, yeah. No, just, okay. And then final question was just regarding the statistics for 2025 class. That was cool to see those. It's hard to see it without comparisons to other years. And obviously, there's people move in all different directions, which I'm very much in favor of. So, I mean, what to you on that sheet stands out?
What stands out to me is, the majority of post-graduation plans that our students have. I think that's great that so many students are pursuing, additional educational opportunities or have a plan for some other, either employment or some training or going into the armed forces. I'm really proud of the fact that by 11th grade, 88% of our students are graduation ready in 11th grade, according to the GPA, and 77% are graduation ready in 11th grade, for the math. Again, as Ms.
Could you put that slide?
Oh,
back
yeah,
up
I'm sorry.
For the audience.
As Ms. Guas said, no students needed the portfolio appeal, and that's great. So I think that, overall, our students are successful, and they are ready for college and career upon graduation.
Thank you.
Dr. Woolley, thank you for your presentation and for outlining the beginning of a plan forward. I can help with some of the questions only because I was at the Garden State Coalition of Schools meeting yesterday, and they were calling the change in testing the August surprise. And they said that's what the state does, it's the August surprise, and here we are, and there have been like no details really given out about what this will look like or what changes are going to take place, except it's moving to adaptive. People from the state do say that there will be a way to take the numbers and the results and the percentages of this current test and have a comparison to the new test, but what that looks like, nobody really knows. I think it's a wait and see, and I think it just adds stress to the learning environment because we're expected to do a field test in a few weeks, and supposedly even those field test results are not shared with us. It's just for purposes of technology and to make sure that it all runs kind of smooth. But we all know, like, technology never runs smooth, so we don't know. Out of what we're seeing as far as the subgroups and the different populations, what interventions do you think are most effective for students moving from performance levels 1 to 3, like in the partially proficient, to the 4 or 5s? Like, what do you think really helps in getting them there?
Well, I would say that, there's not one quick answer. For our students with disabilities, their IEP goals, their teachers are working with them individually in small groups, and, they're making growth. For our multilingual learners, last month when I was reporting out on the access data, I shared that the group of children who were receiving ESL services last year, 65% of them were level 1 or level 2. So they're basic beginners, and they're just starting in the program. So, their double dose of ESL services is going to help them move along on their trajectory. Our students who are struggling academically are receiving basic skill supports with our reading and math specialists. We have all of our special ed teachers, ESL teachers, basic skills reading specialists, Orton trained. We're seeing a lot of growth there. We're providing support classes, we're providing after-school tutoring. So it really depends on the student and the individual need, but there are a lot of things being put in place to support our students.
Oh, thank you. I think for me, a concern that I have is science, especially amongst the 8th grade that took the test, looking at how all students had about a 29% rate. And I was wondering, do you have, or are we aware of what the percent, like what the rate was for those students when they took the test in 5th grade? Do we know maybe like what might have affected this dip? Like, are we looking at cohort problems like COVID? Is it curriculum? I know that I shared information with some people regarding, I think you, Dr. Valesky, that science, they've actually seen dips in it because of increased screen time, increased social media, doing science experiments on the computer instead of using paper or actual handheld experiments, and students lose interest in science in earlier grades. And so what are your thoughts? What can we do to kind of increase the interest in science, and particularly those grades, and try to get them on a higher leverage when they take the test again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I did look up how they did in 5th grade, and they actually, testing was canceled due to COVID.
That's what I figured.
However, we don't know the future of the science exam. To think that 29% of all the children in the state can do science seems a little hard to
Right.
believe. But our goals for science this year, student-facing, engaging instruction. We want to make sure that our students are involved in inquiry and phenomenon-based learning to foster that motivation. We know that, especially at the adolescent level, not everyone's very interested in science. So we need to make our classrooms thriving learning experiences. We also need to address learning gaps and comprehension challenges with targeted scaffolds and interventions. For teachers, provide that PD that's focused on engineering practices and effective phenomenon-driven instruction, and ensure that our curriculum and pacing and instructional materials are fully aligned with the standards and effectively supporting the teaching of grade-level concepts. So what are we teaching? How are we teaching it? Do our teachers have everything they need? And are the children learning? And if they're not, why not? That's the goal.
Okay, thank you. And my last thing, I think, was a point that some other board members made, but test scores are important, right? But it's just one part of data. So what other interventions or how else will we measure success beyond test scores? When we look at attendance or behavior or social emotional learning, what do you think the districts and the board should look at, and what do you think the board as a whole can do to continue to assist in that?
I mean, when I mentioned all the factors that our students in our classrooms are dealing with, I work very closely with the counseling department. We're tracking INRS data. Very rarely does a student, especially in the secondary level, come to INRS with a purely academic issue. There's also the fact that they're absent half of the days. There's also all these other issues that they're facing. So I think supporting the counseling services and, ensuring that we are addressing the whole child and meeting the needs of not only the child but his or her family is very important. We already have 45 homeless students, and it's the second week of school. So we have a lot of issues that could be impacting students'
Right.
ability to
Of course.
focus on learning. So how can we measure growth? I think, absenteeism. I think, continuing to meet with the counselors and seeing what the children are presenting with when they come in. We have 113 students last year out on home instruction for mental health issues and other issues. We need to have our students with us in school and their needs met so that they can be available for learning. That's the goal.
Thank you.
Anna?
Yeah, thinking about test scores, thinking about everything that goes on in the classroom, so much of it is driven too by class sizes. And so, as you were talking, and I'm thinking, what did we just do? We were really stuck at budget season. When we make cuts, even if they are necessary to balance a budget, every teacher that we take out of a classroom or every child that we add into a classroom, making class sizes larger, it's going to impact everything, especially with the younger kids. And so it just kind of makes me feel sick because we had to do certain things. And that's going to have an effect. And that's why it's so difficult when making decisions. Do we cut this or do we cut that? Because all of these things are going to affect, it's a snowball effect with the kids.
You're right.
Now, I think I heard you say longer school days. Did I?
Yeah, extended school days, after school, before school, available for academic support or other supports.
Oh, okay, all right. And that's currently in the budget, or that's something that we
We're
want to do?
using Title I funding
Got
to
it.
provide our academic support.
Perfect.
Yep.
Good. Yeah. Now, I did have a question about the elementary pilots that are going on. Will you be able to separate the test scores by cohort, for us to see, down the road?
I would, with the new SLA, the
Yeah.
adaptive, I would imagine, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine because we can drill down to the teacher level
Yeah.
now. So I would hope
Oh.
that we would have the same capacity.
Good, because, since we're using 3 different curriculum, it would be interesting to see how the students perform, and especially if the classes were set up as normal, where you have, special education students and you have multi-language learners, everybody all mixed together. It'll be interesting to see
Yes.
if maybe those ELA scores will go up you know,
Yeah.
if we're going to be looking to replace the current program that we're using. So that should be very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wilbur?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Very much appreciated. Most of my questions I've been checking off because that's the disadvantage of being on this side, I suppose.
I promise I'll start on this side for
yeah.
the next one.
That's okay.
I apologize.
I did have some questions just for clarification in terms of understanding our data better, and I know that you're not going to have this stuff now, but you know, just if you can get this to us. So the time in district graph that you showed, that's for the entire school population, correct?
That's
I
for the
believe I
students who
heard-
participated in the English Language Arts and Math SLA.
Yeah, right. Okay. Do we know how our more at-risk subgroups do over time? Because I think that would be very useful
According to
know.
the length of enrollment?
Right, right. So
I
basically the
didn't run
same.
that, but we can look at that.
Yeah, basically the same graph, except, you know, split out the multilingual learners, split out
Mm-hmm.
the kids with disabilities, split out the Hispanic, African-American groups, because it would be good to know that they're also trending in the right direction, because maybe they're not. I don't know.
Yep, we can do that.
Yeah. The other thing is on the growth table for the partially proficient students. I think it would also be good to split out, the definition, if I remember correctly, is same or increased performance level. I'd like
Yes.
to see same and increased performance level split out as well, because
Okay.
basically, if we have a kid that's at PL2, and is at PL2 year over year over year.
But they made growth in that band.
Right, but they're still not hitting proficiency.
No,
guys.
they
You
didn't
got it?
get that 25 points, but they made growth in their band.
Right, right.
can
But
split that out.
proficiency's PL 4 and 5, right?
It is.
Yeah, so that means that it's only students that are actually moving up that would get to that point, as opposed to a student that's, say, at PL 2 year over year over year.
Well, this is reflecting if you were at performance level 2 and you moved to 3,
Mm-hmm.
or if you stayed at 2, but you made growth, you didn't get the 25 points to
Right.
go up a band, but.
Yeah, yeah, but you still have to get out of that band to hit proficiency.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and
this
that's
isn't
why I'm-
showing that they went from a level 1 to proficient, no.
Yeah.
That's not what this is reflecting. This is reflecting growth.
Okay. And then just one more, one comment on adaptive tests. I know you may not have the details of this, but it sounds like there's a question bank, and then the questions are pulled according to how the student is doing through the test, right? So if the student is getting moderate amount of questions wrong, the questions might get easier. If they're getting them all right, then they escalate in terms of how hard the questions are. Do we know if the students still wind up taking the same number of questions?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I actually
Do you?
have. No. What? We don't know? Okay. All right. That's awesome. Yay, August. Because I actually have taken adaptive tests before, and there were tests that I've taken where I was in front of that computer for the 2 hours that they said I was going to be in front. And I've taken other tests where they cut the test off early because the tests assumed that I either was clearly going to pass or just they knew I was an idiot right away. And I think that's important to know and explain to the kids, because it's very disorienting to be saying, okay, I'm going to take a 2-hour test, and then an hour later, the computer tells you you're done. And if we can get practice runs outside of this, I would highly, highly recommend that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
But that would imply that the state was going to tell us anything about it before the day that we give it.
I think it's, yeah, but I still think it's a reasonable ask.
It is. I just wanted to comment to some things that people said to just reinforce. I completely agree. Not only do we not want to be teaching to the test, because we just want excellence in language arts and in math and in science, but the state actually makes it impossible to teach to the test because they say nothing about it till the day it shows up. So I think what you're saying is very valid. We're teaching the kids about test taking skills, but I really think the state has made it clearly impossible as the test changes, like every 5 years. It's totally new format, totally new test, which is in my mind, not a bad thing, because it forces us to just teach the curriculum at a high level and then wonder about what the state's doing. I did also want to ask you, the science test, does that have any weight or impact on the students beyond that we get scores for it?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. The 11th grade students that are taking it, they know that, right?
They do know that.
They do know that. Just wanted to throw that out there, having once had the opportunity to sit with 11th graders who were taking a test that they knew had absolutely no impact on their life. They don't show what they can do as much as you would want them to. But anyone else from up here?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yeah, it's just one last question. So back to that point about using this to drive excellence, do we have any data as far as how our students do after graduation? Because quite frankly, I don't care for any standardized test. I don't think that's going to tell us anything. Do we have any data as far as how successful they are once
I
they're?
do know that the counseling department was putting out surveys to graduates a few years out. I don't know if they're still doing that. I'll have to look into that and see if we can get that information.
Yeah, because to me, that matters more than a standardized test that's going to change every 3 minutes.
Yes.
We can check with that, because I do know that we've been doing that, but I don't know about the response rate from
Right.
like the last couple of years. I think it has declined, but we can see what information we do have.
Yeah, there were a couple questions that the board has had over the years about after graduation.
Right.
But it feels like the students that respond are also the students that are doing well, which doesn't, right? They're the ones who want to say, it's going great. So it's hard to know, which is frustrating. All right, at this point, we get, I need to ask just for procedure. So are we going to, questions about this, or do we move on to the next one from the public, or is that the public? hearing? Okay.
This is
All
the
right.
public comment piece.
Awesome. So now we go to the happy bit. Welcome, Jane. We have our student representative report. There will be no questions to follow up on your report whatsoever. We're just going to
Thank you
cheer
so
and be
much.
really excited.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you to the board for welcoming me. My name is Jane, and I'm excited to be here at EBHS as EBHS Student Council President and Representative. And yes, somehow I'm already a senior, which doesn't feel real. One day you're a freshman getting lost in the hallways, and now you're giving speeches at board meetings. So. Okay. First, I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing PTSA for organizing a beautiful and successful senior sunrise on September 5th. It was a special way for our class to kick off senior year, and thank you for making it happen. We've officially kicked off the school year, and things are already moving fast. Our athletic teams are diving into their seasons, and our marching band is back on the field, sounding incredible. If you haven't had a chance to come out to a game yet, we'd love to see you there. Your support means a lot. Last Wednesday was our back to school night, and our cheerleaders assisted parents around the school. We had our annual activity fair on September 16th, and it's a great opportunity for students, especially our new sophomores, to explore clubs, meet members, and find ways to get involved. Speaking of sophomores, orientation was a big success in the end of August. Senior tour guides helped welcome them and give them an inside scoop on the life of EBHS. Yearbooks are currently $89, which is the lowest they'll be all year. If you're looking to save money and lock in memories, now's the time to order. October is our busiest month for the high school. Looking ahead, we have our PSATs for sophomores and juniors, our Pink Out football game, which is on October 24th, also our homecoming game, and our homecoming is on October 22nd. Parent-teacher conferences are between that week, and we have our hallway decorating for homecoming. Senior year, this is my spot. The Senior Parent Night is coming up on September 25th, and our counselors will be there helping parents navigate the college application progress, which is kind of grueling. Thank you all again for letting me use this time and also support you give to our students and our student-led events. You help make our school feel like a real community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just going to add in that there were some really nice small cheerleaders participating with the big cheerleaders You should talk about that, not me. I just want to say there are a lot of pictures of you with one of my favorite 7-year-olds, so.
Okay, I'm going to talk about that. The last game, we had a junior spirit night, and we invite all the little kids coming from East Brunswick to cheer with us, and they really look up to us. I had one, her name is Annie. She is so spirited.
That's my girl.
She's great. She's great. She had like her little pom-poms, and she was doing the splits after every cheer. It was great. She's so peppy. It was so amazing and fun. They did really great, and they were there until the third quarter of the game. And it was a really fun night.
It was really fun, and I will tell you, they stayed to the end.
Yes.
Those little tiny people stayed to
They
the end.
did.
It was great.
She told me she wanted a chicken sandwich halfway through from Chick-fil-A because we sell them there. She was like, I'm really hungry. I was like, oh, we can go get you some food. And it was really great. She cheered me on at the end, too. She stayed with her sweater and her EBHS cheer rep.
It was awesome. And the feedback from the parents, the only thing they wanted different was they want to know if they can do it more than once in a season because it was such a good experience for the kids. So something to consider. And she got the sandwich, just so you know. She did. Yes. All right. Now we are on to a public hearing on the school level self-assessment for determining grades under the ABBR for the period ending June 2025 and the student safety data system and the HIB reporting period 2, January 1st through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you for that setup.
That's a lot.
So that's a lot. And so tonight, it's going to be a tag team event with Mrs. Danielle Blaylock, Supervisor of Student Services, who will talk about our HIBs, and then I will talk about the student safety data system report right after that.
Yes, thank you so much. I have to say, Jane, it's exciting to see you up here. I can't believe you're a senior. I remember when you were a little kid, making me feel all the feels seeing you up here. So welcome to you on the board and congratulations. So I wanted to take a minute to talk before Dr. Valesky spoke about our HIB self-assessment grades. So oftentimes I'm asked, Danielle, how do we have a perfect score on our HIB self-assessment? Because we have HIBs. HIBs are harassment, intimidation, and bullying instances. So how do we have a perfect score? Well, what the self-assessment actually assesses is not our HIBs. What it's assessing is whether or not the schools are following the law. So in terms of that, it's looking at whether or not we have the documentation to back up following the law. So I wanted to do a little show and tell. When I came on board in 2013, we didn't have Hibster, which is our online platform. And this is an example of one school's backup documentation for how they proved that they were exceeding in terms of the self-assessment. This is how much backup documentation it requires. Luckily, Mr. Juliana, we're paperless now, and we can put everything into Hibster, which is our online platform. But you can see there's a lot of work that goes into this in terms of proving, what we have done throughout the year to follow the law. So you can see here, these are the areas that the state is looking at. They want to know whether or not our schools have training, do we have procedures, do we have trained personnel, do we have a safety climate team, and are we following the procedures to make sure that we are implementing the law. In terms of the scoring, so we are exceeding the requirements, but as you can see, our schools are able to provide the documentation that we have, followed the law and then exceeded what it's asking for, not whether or not we have HIBs. So in looking at our HIBs, and really the goal of our safety and climate team is to look at what are the trends that we're seeing in terms of our behavior of our students. So in looking at that from last year, our goal for this year is to focus on anti-bias activities, as well as mindfulness strategies and health and wellness. So that's the direction we're looking to go.
Thank you.
Turn it
Mrs.
over to Dr.
Blaylock.
Valesky.
Thank you.
I'm doing no further lead-in.
So, I just want to report out that our self-assessment for this year, we scored the max point, 78, among all of our schools in each of the categories. But this is not just for this year. This trending has been going on for quite some time. We scored 78 in the previous year, in 2022, 2023, 2021, 2022, 2020, 2021, 2019, and 20, and all the way back to 2018, 19. So there's been a long history of scoring well in these categories. But as Mrs. Blaylock said, this is only about having the mechanisms in place to make sure that we meet all the criteria. So let's talk about the student safety data system. And it's going to look just a little bit different this time. And you'll notice the numbers, first off, are really small. But what we did is we highlighted each of the numerical values that were actually populated above 0 in this big spread among our elementary schools, so it was easier to see. I think for understanding, though, I want to clarify what the titles across the top really mean. So violence by the state includes assault, fights, kidnapping, and these are their terms: robbery, extortion, sexual assault, sexual contact, simple threats, and criminal threats. So that's the violence category. Vandalism includes arson, computer trespass, damage to property, false public alarm, theft, trespass. And one of the things I want to point out, false public alarm can be as simple as a false 911 call made by a cell phone, because in our system right now, we have a system that can, through geofencing, identify a phone either through a building or an individual cell phone. So if they dial 911 intentionally to create unrest, that's considered part of vandalism. And then we have substances. And for the report period that we're talking about, this again is January 2025 to June 2025. The substance abuse reports are primarily vape pens, THC, marijuana, and one report of alcohol. So that it's primarily vapes that we're seeing our students abuse that are coming in the substance report. Weapons, pretty self-explanatory, but we do have 2 reports of weapons in this period's report, and both of them are at Hughes. So I wanted to explain this. Both of these weapons were actually 3D printer knives. One was produced for the student's own use. Another was produced to resell. So that is what the 2 weapons are that we're reporting for this period. Then we have HIB confirmed. So, and I'll go through the HIB process, the reporting timeline at the very end of this report, so it's a reaffirmation of how the system works. But the confirmed are the ones that are found there was HIB, there was some element of HIB. And then we have HIB alleged at the end, which is the contrary to that. We open an HIB and we find that there's no evidence that an HIB occurred. It could be a student code of conduct. And so that's the anomaly that we're finding with the HIB law. And we all recognize the HIB law was actually implemented for a very important reason, and to protect our students and to make sure that they existed in a safe environment. But we also know that there are student code of conduct issues that sometimes people believe is an HIB. Once the investigation concludes, they'll determine that this is more of an interaction between students that could have been resolved outside of the HIB element. I do want to affirm HIBs do stay part of the student's record now, the student's permanent record, but they don't get communicated out beyond East Brunswick. discipline and those kinds of things stay at East Brunswick. They don't get reported to colleges, universities, or employers. And then in between those HIBs, we have other incidents leading to removal. So what the state has said is anything that doesn't meet any of the criteria of all those elements of violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, goes into that category. These could be things like if a student is insubordinate or skips class and receives an in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, anything that takes the student out of school for at least 1/2 of an instructional day gets reported in this category. So that gives you an example of how these get populated. So I want to move to the secondary schools category, which is the next page. And we're starting to see more populations now of activities throughout our secondary schools. And I want to make sure the audience knows that one single event could result in populating multiple of these categories. So the numbers will not exactly reconcile in every single situation. So one of the things I wanted to bring the audience's attention to is the other incidents leading to removal. And so we have a total of 242 of those in this reporting period. So I wanted to, if we could go to the next slide, I wanted to take a look at, and we've been listening to the public this last school year about the length of our school year and graduation being later than it historically has been. And wanted to see if we trended on some of these activities as we got closer to the end of our elongated school year. Well, if you look at the second set of data at the bottom of the page, that's the secondary schools. This doesn't track or correlate exactly, but at least at Churchill Junior High School, we continue to see other incidents leading to removal continue to be relatively high through the month of May. I think what this points at this point, this isn't enough data to make a really informed decision, at least in my opinion, but I think this is something we continue to track over the next 6 months to take a look at, and of course for the next year, how these incidents might relate to an elongated school year. And then the last page is a comparison year to year. I am happy to report that we have seen a decline in the number of total incidents, but we ticked up in those other incidents leading to removal. We did not bring those down. To me, that's our target, is that category, that undefined category where students are being disciplined for things other than violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, HIB confirmed, HIB alleged. And this goes directly to Dr. Boley's presentation. Having students present for instruction, making sure they're supported, making sure they can be in the classroom, that they want to be in the classroom, is one of the goals that links this data along with the data that Dr. Boley presented. And then in terms of the next one right here, breaking down the schools of both the alleged and the confirmed HIBs. Again, alleged are those that are opened up but are found not to have the criteria to meet the criteria for an HIB. And the confirmed, of course, is self-explanatory. And again, year-to-year comparison, next slide. We saw a pretty significant drop this year over last year in both the alleged and confirmed categories. That is progress. That's not success, that's progress. Until that number's 0, we won't have success. We still have work to do. And the programs that we utilize, probably one of the biggest and I think most impactful sources of strength, peer-to-peer relationships. But recently, our displaced students group, I think, is meeting the needs of students right where they are. And I hope we continue to grow that. I think that has a lot of potential. And of course, awareness, Violence Awareness Week, Respect Week, which we've always done. And our clubs and activities, the board continues to see reports from, student services about we're looking to offer clubs and activities that students want to have. So if something's of interest to them, it could replace something that they don't no longer have an interest in. And so having student engagement with each other, and I think is important in building a culture of acceptance and reducing the number of conflicts in our schools. And of course, school spirit days, always fun activities, brings everyone together for that period of time. I imagine everyone wishes we could do that all the time, but those are all important elements. So I just wanted to wrap this up before we open it up and just kind of go over the HIB investigative timeline. So when somebody sees something that they feel is an HIB, it must be reported right away. Within 2 days of that, if it's a verbal report, there needs to be a written report, and that goes to the building principal. In 1 day of that report, the investigation kicks off, and there's 10 days to complete the investigation. Once that investigation is complete, it gets reported to me, and I review it. And Mrs. Blaylock mentioned something about Hibster, and that is a software we use to import all the investigative material, and it's housed where we can access it, for approval, but also for historical trends. So then, no later than the next board meeting, does the board see those reports and take action on those HIB reports and those investigations that have done previously. So there are some, after the investigation is complete and the board approves, there is an appeal process. And so the Board of so within 60 days, the Board of Education can hear an appeal, and then that decision is given to the individuals based on the board's decision to either affirm, modify, or object or reject the decision. There's 90 days after that to appeal to the Commissioner of Education. And if the HIB is a bias situation and falls under the auspices of the Division of Civil Rights, there's a 180-day window to appeal that beyond the district. So that gives a little perspective on the work that's being done on the HIBs. And I can attest that our staff, our student assistant specialists, our investigators are doing a phenomenal job. They take a lot of time to make sure they get all the details right. And they deserve a ton of credit for all the work that goes into this. So that concludes my.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start with comments and questions from the board. We're starting over here. Only on this report, and then we'll go to public comment on it. So, Wilbur.
Just one comment. One of the things I really appreciate about Dr. Boley's report is when she was presenting trends, it was over several years, 4 years, if I remember correctly. That might be useful for tracking our HIB reports.
We absolutely can do that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we can do that.
Great, thanks.
Anna?
I was going to say, sometimes it can be a little bit confusing what a regular person would say, oh, that's bullying or that's harassment. But the state, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the state has very strict guidelines as to what they consider harassment, intimidation, and bullying. So the state's definition is not necessarily what we would think would be. Having, being a teacher for as long as I was, we would always have to write the things up, and we'd be very specific about the incident, whatever we saw, and then we would pass that along. And the determination as to whether or not it was actually a HIB case, it's a checklist that they go through. Did this occur? Did it meet this criteria? So I just wanted to make that clear for the public, that that's how it's done. It's not like we don't make up those criteria for what's considered a HIB. That's given to us by the state.
That's a good point, Dr. Braun, because it's an identifiable characteristic
Yeah.
that usually triggers something like this. And then, it doesn't have to be the student who's the alleged target. It could be somebody who witnessed it as well. So that makes it more complicated. And the district is also responsible for investigating those situations outside of school that have an impact on the educational setting.
Yep.
Lori?
Thank you both for your presentation. So what do you think are the key priorities for 25 to 26 to strengthen school climate? So I see we have the last slide with list of trainings and programs, but how do we try to take that extra step to get parents and students and the community more involved and to build on what we already have in place?
Go ahead, Mrs. Boyle.
I think that's a great question, and we're always trying to get more community involvement and parent involvement. We have a parent on all of our schools' climate committees, and we welcome parent feedback. Each school looks at their own data and looks at what the trends are in that particular building and tries to address specifically to that building, what are they seeing? So by parents being willing to participate, the students, the staff being willing to participate in those climate activities and addressing the specific needs that we're seeing in each building is really the most important part. We all have to own it together. Kids don't always have perfect behavior. It's our responsibility to teach them and to try to grow them into responsible adults.
Right.
We have to model that, and we have to be part of it with them. So the more community and teacher involvement we have, I think the better off we are.
And we've been building this out, as an organization for years, and I do have to give Dr. Figueroa credit of leading this charge for a number of years too. And we continue to look at situations that are national incidents, international incidents that have an impact on our students, and addressing those specific needs as quickly as we can. And we're looking right now at expanding, we've already been doing it, but looking at expanding our anti-bias training in support of our teachers in schools and understanding what anti-Semitism looks like. And we want to do the same for other religions, cultures, because we have many people, the diversity in our community, a lot of people will become impacted by specific national and international events.
Kind of the next question, I think you kind of touched on though, for the school safety and climate teams, do they survey students in the schools regarding bullying or mental health and what they think they need or?
So there is a survey system that we use. Rutgers developed it a few years ago. It matches and aligns directly with the New Jersey's anti-bullying law. And that goes out in the spring, usually around March or April, and we survey students, parents, as well as teaching staff. So we encourage everyone to participate because the more voices that we get from parents and staff as well, the better picture we have in terms of what are the concerns of
Right.
that school's community.
Perfect, thank you. And that is done by Rutgers, who's a third party, and that's an
Correct.
anonymous survey, just
Correct.
so everybody knows.
Correct.
I don't know if we have the spring's results yet, probably not, right?
We do not have the spring
Okay.
results yet.
What I think that I'd like to see in the future, and both of you can give input, is maybe having the school safety or climate team or a representative from there come to the student services meeting and maybe have a discussion or see how they think the board can support or
Sure, so we
just
always have the
report
student
out.
assistance specialist there. They
Yeah.
co-chair the Safety and Climate Committee with one of the building administrators. So we certainly could make that a topic
Yeah, I think it
for
would
one
be
of our
good.
next meetings.
I
Yeah.
think it might help us here, like, just
Mm-hmm.
talk about things at each school and see what we can do, like, what's working at one,
Mm-hmm.
what might be helpful for another, and just kind of, like, have a conversation.
One of the things we talked about today at my department meeting with the anti-bullying specialist was them going and observing other schools' safety and
yeah.
climate committee meetings, just to see what's coming up at different buildings, because, like I said before, each school has their own culture and climate.
Yeah.
But we are all one school community.
Yeah.
So being able to look at what are the other schools experiencing, what are the activities that they're implementing, and then, share out between them, I think is important.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tim?
Thanks. Thanks. I'm always just really amazed with what you and your team and, all the people involved in this process do on a daily basis. And I think it's far more challenging than I'm even aware. The numbers that are reflected in this are the ones that we're aware of, right? And I can't help but assume that there's a lot that still happens.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate.
It is. It is.
And I think, I mean, I don't, I guess it depends on the day, but it seems to me as if though, like, humanity at large is sort of just, becoming a little less tolerable of one another and a little quicker to yell and a little less inclined to collaborate and dialogue. And that's unfortunate for us as a community. So I just wanted to commend you guys for this and for the work that you do. I think I asked you this question last year, and I'd love for you just to repeat it, but when something like this happens, there are a lot of external parties that also get involved in the process of trying to address the situation. And I think it'd be really helpful for the community at large to realize that it's not just something that we take care of in the school. There may be police, there may be DCP&P, there may be, can you just speak to that quickly?
So it's a really good point. All of these incidents that are reported, and to speak to what Dr. Braun had said, unfortunately, the problem with the HIB law is that it doesn't necessarily address every single issue that's taking place in one of these instances. They're very complex. So even if it doesn't meet the criteria of harassment, intimidation, or bullying, it doesn't mean it wasn't a hurtful situation, an upsetting situation. It doesn't mean that it wasn't possibly a bias incident in another way. So there is a lot of collaboration between the department, the schools, East Brunswick Police Department, DCP&P, CMO workers, outside therapists, as well as the school counselors, the student assistance specialists, child study team members, trying to come together to support the students involved, offender, victim, witnesses, as much as possible to try to resolve the issue. And really, ideally, what we're looking to do is not have it repeated. That is really the goal. Kids make mistakes. It's our responsibility to teach them. So trying to prevent repetitive behavior is really the goal.
Thank you. And I just want to add one thing. I mean, for us as we continue to evolve as an organization and a community too, everybody is involved in this process. It starts when the kid gets on the bus in the morning and making sure that the bus driver is aligned with our culture and the way that we treat people to the moment that they get off, right? Like every one of these people play just a vital role in the well-being. And so, the more that we can do to support the whole, the better off we will be as a unit. So, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to swing over to here. I'll come back at the end. Lebu?
Yes. So, Dr. Pulaski, can you please clarify one thing? When you talk about this safety data system is a substance, you said that vaping, THC, marijuana, alcohol abuse. Is just possession or have to be abused to reach this data?
In the school setting, possession is enough to raise that limit. It's illegal for a minor to have marijuana and possess marijuana.
So this is anything and somebody possession will be recorded.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not abuse. Okay.
Well, it is considered because it's possession.
Okay, thank you. And the second, for the safety climate committee, how often does this team meet?
Monthly,
How often, monthly?
monthly.
So is there any way this committee present the finding or summary to this board, so let us know the finding this committee or this team
For each
find?
month?
That will give us a assessment to the entire school district.
Were you looking for a monthly report, Mr. Hung?
Maybe quarterly, if it's monthly is too much.
So we have agendas. Each school creates a safety climate team agenda for each month. There are some standing topics, for example, review of the HIBs or any HIBs that potentially were reported that month is always a standing topic. Any issues that come up within the cafeteria setting is always a standing topic. Any safety or security issues, always a standing topic. Plans for activities that are addressing any of the needs of the culture and climate, that's always a standing topic. So I certainly could get you agendas, or if you're looking for notes
It's
from the meetings.
I personally try to look at. I want this board and the community to know this team's finding. That will give us such similar diagnosis for the school and school district. So maybe quarterly or semi-yearly, give a report to the board.
I'm pausing for a second because I'm thinking about the
Confidentiality.
data that we collect through our Hipster software. If the board is looking for trends, hotspots, I think that we could pull data from that report at will to create customized reports if we were looking at specific things for schools. I'm just wondering what a
Hipster can run
generalized
reports.
look would do for the board. I'm not sure that would meet, I don't want to speak for you, I'm not sure that would meet what I think you're asking for.
So I want to, because this team monthly meet, so I want to know the working result. And I want to present your working result to this board
Of the
and to
team.
this community.
Okay.
So we know what kind of finding this team get and for the entire school district. So give us a picture of the school safety and climate. So that's what I'm trying to get.
Can we collaborate and kind of
Yes,
brainstorm
yeah.
and maybe come back to the board
Sure.
with a proposal?
Yes, sure.
Because we do have a lot of data that we can extract and we can,
We do, and there's a lot that's also discussed at those meetings. So I'm thinking about how can we narrow it down to really give you the information you're looking for, but also protect the confidentiality of any individuals or things that might be being discussed
yeah.
within that close-knit school community. Some things might be confidential, so.
What I'm thinking is potentially put together like a draft
Or
report
summary.
but then you could take a look at it and say, this is what we're looking for, this is not necessarily important to us, but I think giving you something on paper to prompt the discussion, does that make sense?
Yes, there could be a way to solve my.
Well,
So-
maybe I could reach out to the board as a whole to get a consensus of like, what information we'd like for that. you
Sure,
think?
sure. We can further talk about it. I have one more question. So it's all the complaints logged into the Hipster?
Yes.
So, okay, I just want to make sure because some community member complaints there's a lot more than we are reporting. So I just want to make sure every single complaint, either one is bias or is violence, is logged into the Hipster.
It depends how it's reported.
Right.
So some parents will report things and say, I don't want this investigated as a HIB investigation. This is a conflict. I want it handled as a code of conduct. That would not be entered into Hipster. Only things that are reported as a potential bullying incident would go into Hipster.
And if a constituent said, I want to initiate an HIB, then we do that. We begin the HIB process, and then we let it go through the system and termination process. Now, I think it was mentioned earlier, I think Mr. Cummings mentioned, we are encouraging people to be forthcoming and to report. And we've been hearing, instances where people have been afraid to report. So that's the kind of thing that we want to encourage our students and their families to report out, that not to pause on that, because we want to get ahead of this.
Okay. Thank you very much for your clarification. Thank you.
Okay, Jamie?
Ms. Blaylock, thank you for everything you do for this district. You do amazing work. I hope that the public knows how much you do, because it's a wonder one person can do as much as you do. I feel that way about a lot of people in this district. But I guess my remark is that I feel that, I echo some sentiments already said. My concern is that there's not a culture where students feel comfortable to report. Being ostracized by peer groups, retaliation, social media bullying that occurs outside of school are concerns. And I don't expect you to have an answer, but, similar to how I asked Dr. Boley, I challenge you and your department to innovate and find ways that students can, build on the camaraderie that you are working on, but also have the confidence that the adults in this district will handle things effectively for them and make sure that their experience of reporting their truth is one that validates their feelings. Because perception and reality aside, we still have the emotional health of these children to address. And so thank you for your concern with that.
You're welcome. I think that's always been, since my time here, which has been since 2013 in this position, school counselor in the district before that, special ed teacher prior to that, that's always been an uphill battle, right? With adults and children, trying to empower children to speak their truth and to be confident when they face an adverse situation and be able to know and trust that the adults are going to help support them through it. But giving them that confidence, that's part of the mental health piece that we're battling every day.
Dr. Falco, I just wanted to mention, two things came to mind as you were talking. I think the one group of people in our schools who have had a significant impact on being a sounding board for our students that are not part of the professional staff are our security officers. They've built relationships with students and students share with them. The other is, I mentioned sources of strength and peer support of each other, and especially with cyberbullying cases and things like that, where students are reporting that this is happening to a friend. They're aware of something and they're bringing it to the attention of Student Assistance Department.
Great. Thank you for that.
Lou?
Thank you, Ms. Blaylock, and thank you, Dr. Valesky, for your reports this evening. I also want to thank the student assistance specialists, the counseling staff, the building administrators, our security, all of our staff, our teachers, because and our students, because so many of those folks are important to us getting really where we want to get to at the end. We were talking about HIBs, but I do think, and I know, Dr. Braun, you brought this up before, the HIB is a very specific case. We also have, student issues, student concerns, student conduct, if you will. I would like, if you could, just to mention the importance of counseling in both of those, and also the follow-up. So, and I say that very important because I know the state has said, let's try not to, use discipline all the time. We're trying to counsel students, trying to help, trying to see where there's maybe a lacking, where we can help to fortify. Because you brought up, Ms. Blaylock, a great point. Recidivism is really the key here. Right. If we can stop recidivism in these cases and narrow that down, that will really help, I think, all of our students in our school climate.
Right, exactly, because we know kids are going to make mistakes. So being able to teach them and support them through that is important. We recognize that we have to support the victim, the offender, as well as the witnesses, because it's a teachable moment. Whatever the situation was, someone got hurt. And it's important that we make sure our kids understand what the actions were that caused that to happen, so that it isn't repeated. So we provide support for all levels, that are involved in an incident, whether it's a HIB or not.
I think that's important for the public to
Yeah.
understand. So,
Any incident that's brought to administration or brought to counseling is going to be handled by the Student Services Department as well as the administration. It just might not meet that specific criteria that we talked about before that the state determines, which makes it a HIB, substantial educational impact and a distinguishing characteristic. There might not be substantial educational impact, but there might be other impact. That doesn't mean that the student doesn't need support. It just means it didn't meet that criteria of the state.
so I think what you said is important for the public to understand. Even though it may not be an HIB, it is still being
still an
looked at. It
incident.
is still an incident,
Right.
and it's still being reviewed and handled administratively and with our counseling team as well. So thank you for that. Dr. Pan, you had brought up something about in terms of data, and I agree with you 100%. Dr. Valesky, you had mentioned, and I appreciate this, that you're looking at if the extended year occurs, are we having more incidents? I think it would be important to not only look at that, but also to look at the last few years, because is it an extended 2 weeks extra of school, or is it time of year, that kind of thing? I think we can really look at that, because I think, I'd like to see what those results are in terms of, how those HIBs come out, so that would be something that would be helpful. Let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, yes, at this point, looking forward, and I'm sure, I know someone else had mentioned this, do we have specific things that if I said to you, Ms. Blaylock, Dr. Valesky, do you have a certain area? I know, for instance, on the buses, in the lunchroom, in the hallways, in general, is there one particular or two particular areas that we're trying to tackle to make it a little bit less difficult and maybe to reduce some of these HIBs where students might be really suffering or really having a hard time?
I mean, we've always found that the unsupervised times tend to be more challenging, athletic events where, there's not a teacher right there, on the bus, sometimes at recess. So I think a lot of it just goes back to that counseling piece where we're trying to teach the students what is appropriate behavior, what's not, and how to handle a situation so that they know where to go for support, they know how to get a trusted adult to get involved with the situation. So I still think it goes back to the counseling piece.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate both of you for the report. Thank you.
All right, Miriam?
Thank you, Ms. Blaylock. I appreciate everything you do for this district. I echo everyone else's sentiments. My question is really around, it's great that this is broken down by like violence, vandalism, substances, et cetera, but do we have anything that breaks it down by HIBs against race or religion? Because that, to me, is like the key piece of then how do we know what issues, or even like body image, like how do we know
Yep.
what issues we're having that we can?
So that all can be filtered out through Hipster,
Okay.
and that is exactly what the Safety and Climate team is doing every single month when they get together. They're looking at all of the alleged reports, not just the confirmed ones, but all of the alleged reports, and what did they have to do with? Was there a distinguishing characteristic? Are we seeing a trend? Are we seeing in one particular school, a particular cultural group or religion or something is being affected? This way we can target that in our teachings and our trainings.
Okay. And what about the ones that aren't HIBs? Because I know in speaking to a lot of constituents, there are things that aren't HIBs, but they fall into those categories,
So those are all
race,
still looked
religion.
at.
Okay.
Whether it was a confirmed or just an
Right.
alleged, it's part of the discussion of the Safety and Climate team, and we still look at what are the trends.
Okay.
Whether it was confirmed or not. It's still an inappropriate behavior,
Okay.
regardless.
So
So we
there's-
still need to address it.
There's a system that documents that somehow?
Yes.
Okay.
Hipster.
Outside of Hipster?
No, Hipster is where we track all of that, Dr. Daniels.
But the ones where Ms. Blaylock said there's issues that aren't HIBs. So where are
But if
those,
it-
like, they're just conflicts
So
but they
if it
fall in
was-
those categories?
Let me rephrase that. If it was reported as a possible HIB,
Okay,
but unfounded as a HIB, it's logged in Hipster.
okay.
If it was something that was reported and, let's say the parents decided, we don't want to pursue this as a HIB, we just want it handled as a
Right,
code of
right.
conduct, we would like a mediation, something like that, that's housed in the counseling department in terms of notes. And those are things that the counselors bring to the table as part of the discussion at the Safety Climate Committee meetings.
Yeah, and so like in speaking to constituents, I think a lot of them fall into that category.
Yes.
So if there's a way for us to quantify that, I think that would be helpful. Like even an Excel file that says like incident, like this is the category it falls into, I think that'll give us a better picture as a district.
Okay.
And it might be helpful even in those climate conversations.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
One of the things I do want to emphasize, Dr. Tanios, you made me think of it as you're speaking. Hipster allows us also to identify where the incidents occur. And so we can identify if we're tracking higher at the cafeteria, during passing time, on the bus. So it allows us to target resources and even looking at organizing passing time at schools, putting fewer students together in that compressed environment, has an impact in reducing the number of HIVs or the alleged HIVs that are occurring. So we use that software quite a bit, but the notes of the board, I have them, and we'll work to quantify those concerns that the board has.
All right, so,
Sorry,
okay, go ahead.
just one more quick thing. So this is the disadvantage of going first and then not hearing the.
I'm gonna be last,
Yeah,
it's
okay,
okay.
yeah. And so we've talked about trying to make these events teaching moments so that the behavior doesn't repeat. If we're talking about data, that's probably something else we should be looking at, how many of these events are actually
Repetitive.
repetitive. Yeah, both what goes into hipster and the outside events as well.
Maybe one thing I should mention is a few years ago, the state did implement that if a student is found to be an offender in 3 confirmed HIBs, the school does need to take action in terms of developing a behavioral plan and some type of, more intensive interventions as to how to support that student, because obviously that's a student that's not able to learn the lesson and make appropriate choices.
We good? Okay. I wanted to thank you for the presentation. I love all discussion about this, because the more discussion we have, the more we can encourage people to come forward and advocate for their students. Students are often just afraid, and not afraid of anything specific. I think just fearful of drawing attention to themselves for speaking up. And I think one of the most valuable things that as an education we teach them is to find their voice. And I think that's what your department really helps them with. So I wanted to thank you for that, but I want to encourage parents, if your child has a problem or has talked to you about having a problem, and they say, please don't say anything, please don't say anything, talk to someone. I just sent somebody to speak to Dr. Valesky and you, actually, I think the other day, where it was just like, we don't know who to talk to. We don't know what we want to do. It's like, find somebody to talk to, get some guidance, then make a decision. It doesn't mean that the whole world's going to, lash out at your child. But I think kids just sit in their anxiety and don't say anything.
I think
so
it's part of being a kid, right?
It is, and I think
learning what your voice is, where your voice is, and being confident enough to trust in that and to come forward. But there's always the fear, in kids in schools of coming forward and what is that going to look like, and am I going to be embarrassed? But in order to right the ills of society, right, like you were saying, we have to address it. We have to address these behaviors head on, and we have to teach our kids how to be good citizens and how to treat each other with respect. So if we don't know it's happening, we can't work on it. So even if it's not reported as a HIB, if it's just reported as an incident to the counseling department, we can still deal with it.
And I just keep encouraging people that there are staff members here that will handle your child with just the gentlest of care. And I think the other part is telling our students that their voice is important to report, but also their voice is respected as for how they want to move forward sometimes. Because I think they think once they tell an adult, it's all out of their hands. I also wanted to say, because the agenda is very long, and I just want to say it, I want to thank the Municipal Alliance, because later on in the agenda, there's money in a grant from the Municipal Alliance for training the trusted adults with sources of strength, and it's such a valuable program. So I'm just really grateful for the
So Ms. Amaturo and
funding.
I are super grateful to Jen Stetson and the Alliance. I was able to bring in Sources of Strength on a grant in 2014, and we've had a lot of changeover in staff over the years, and we felt like we needed a reboot and a retraining, and we got the grant from the Municipal Alliance, and we're really excited.
No, I just saw it on the agenda, and I was so excited to see that. All right.
Could I make a mention?
Yes,
or-
please.
Because there's always another really important person, another VIP that you have to mention. And Mrs. Karen Keegan, who's here in front. All the data that goes into these reports, Karen is the master of all that. And when I came to her and I said, hey, Karen, let's look at this over the months. Let's track that out this way. She goes, okay. And she goes back to the office and recalculates and comes back again. So always appreciate her, and she's phenomenal. So thank you.
All right, at this point, we invite public comment on this report only. If there's anyone who would like to comment, step up. Is this a name and address too?
Same thing.
Same thing as for the good of the cause. So if you could give your name and address, unless you're a student, in which case your name and your school. And there is a 3-minute time limit on your comment.
Wait, don't time me yet. Is this only I can talk about this? Can I come back and talk again, or this is
Yeah,
one of the?
just on this topic.
Only on this now.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. All right, so, where am I? I got my notes here. I would like to have seen the
Name,
number of,
please.
oh, hi, Antoine Evola, 45 Merrill Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to have seen the number of HIBs broken down by incident type. I would like to have seen each school have that breakdown, because perhaps the elementary schools are still, they're still working on their, oh, I don't like your shoes, I don't like your face. But when you get to the high school and the junior high school, it can get more in-depth. Obviously, those kids have social media, they're aware of what's going on in the world, so I just want to make sure that we see those differences, because it could be something that you could address differently if it's a pattern, I would like to ask a question. I know you can't answer me, but how are the HIBs that are against teachers and administrators also included in these HIBs? Because I'd like to know about that. I know that there's been some incidents where teachers and staff members have had HIBs on them, and that's something I'd like to know about also. Restorative justice, right? So when these, especially in Churchill and the high school, when these children are having an ISS or even an out-of-school suspension, when they're in these isolated classrooms, parents are being told, and this is what I'm told by my constituents, that their child is going to get training and mediation, and then the child comes home and they tell the parent, I was just sitting there, I did my work, and then I was looking at my phone. So the next day, everyone's back in the same classroom again, and nothing was really done to mediate those kids. So in New York City, when there was an incident, it could have been a racial incident, a religious incident, those students who were involved had an entire day where they had to sit together with a guidance counselor, and the children had to work towards it. Each party got to say their piece, they got to say their side. By the end of the day, those children went home, either they were friends again, or they agreed to disagree. So I'm just wondering what the restorative justice is for those types of incidents in that age group. The other thing I wanted to say. For the little ones who are afraid to go to the teachers, and I can tell this is a story from my own daughter, a lot of the stuff does happen on the buses, and there's only so much the guy who's driving the bus can hear that's going on in the background. That, I don't know if is a training for the bus driver. Obviously, they're not going to be able to address what's happening in the back of the rows. So I don't know how you guys would approach that. What happens on the bus? Is that also something that's considered a HIB for in school, because it's out of school, it's not happening in the classroom in front of an adult? It's just a he said, she said thing? That's my question. And I think it would be good for the younger student, sorry. All right.
Sorry.
Hi, Dom.
Dom Sclafani, 6 Fairfield Road. Just a quick question. I saw the rates went down. Great job. I just want to know if there was something in particular that was done, established, any programs or anything like that that caused that decline in incidents. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Rachel Botnick, 262 Bromley. I want to make 2 points, or ask you guys to check something out. The trends and hotspots that you're talking about, Churchill is one of them. Cohort 2029, you guys need to start looking at the data and connecting it to removal behavior, preparedness for the classes they're in, and COVID. You talked about science tests. They didn't take the tests. These students in cohort 2029 are not prepared for the curriculum that is being presented to them. There is a lack of supports, and it is directly related to the Churchill numbers that you are seeing up here, and you guys are ignoring it. Time and time again, that cohort is being ignored. My daughter, I filed 3 HIBs on the same child before it was actually taken seriously. And no, she wasn't taken care of with kid gloves. She was not. She was damaged, and we had to do damage control at home. So that is not the reality for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we're going to close the public portion. This moves us on to the good of the cause for the public. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff.
I have a question
In-
for my kids.
One second, just give me 1 second. You can wait right there. Let me finish the one. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period of public comment at every meeting of the board. Each participant gets up to 3 minutes to speak. The board secretary will keep the time. When you step up, if you could give your name and address, unless you are a student, in which case just your name and your grade. And I'm sorry, I'm just required to read all that. What were you going to say, sir?
Yeah, I have a question for my kids, for my choice, foreign language class. So if you don't mind, I will ask him to ask the question himself.
Okay, a name?
Alex Chi.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Alex, and I'm a 5th grade student at Hammersfield Upper Elementary School. This year, my first choice for a world language elective was Spanish, but I was placed in German instead. I cannot accept this class. First, at Wunsdorfer Elementary School, I had studied introductory Spanish. I enjoyed it very much, which is why I chose Spanish again in 5th grade. I was prepared and motivated to continue learning this language. Second, Spanish is one of the largest languages in the United States. Spanish is useful in many everyday situations. As an American student, I believe learning Spanish is the best choice for me. However, my parents received no notice, and there was no fair lottery, transparent process. I was never told what process or criteria were used for this selection, yet I was forced to take German. This feels very unfair to me. My parents have contacted the school several times asking to switch me back to Spanish, but they were told I could only take Spanish again in 7th grade. I find this answer unreasonable. Languages should be learned continuously, not with a 2-year gap. Members of the board, you are also parents. If your child were in the same situation, wouldn't you want their choice to be respected? I sincerely hope that I can have opportunity to study Spanish, the language I first chose, and the one I'm truly committed to learning. Thank you for listening to my request and for making a fair and just decision.
Thank you, Alex.
Good evening. Dom Sclafani, 6 Fairfield Road. It is with great sadness to announce that I am moving, and barring some big event, this is most likely my last time speaking at a board meeting. I am so lucky to have grown up here and to have the education that I got. I had the best teachers, friends, counselors, coaches, and mentors, and I wouldn't be where I am today without them. I am incredibly grateful for all of them. I'm proud of the work I did here in town through the various organizations I was a part of, and I hope I made an impact. To quote one of my favorite musicals, Hamilton, legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. I hope a legacy is something I've accomplished here. Thank you, East Brunswick. You will always have a special place in my heart. This is not a goodbye. It's a see you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Tatiana Jordan, 27 North Drive. To begin, I must address a deeply troubling comment made by a board member during Dr. Bully's presentation in August regarding student test scores. Mr. Hong, during that meeting, you questioned the WIDA access results for English language learners and expressed concern that these students remain in the program after 3 or even 4 years, calling it alarming, as well as questioning the district's exit rates. Such a remark not only oversimplifies the challenges faced by multilingual learners, but also demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the language acquisition process and the critical supports these students require in order to thrive academically. As a veteran ESL teacher with 17 years of experience, I can attest that it is both normal and expected for students to remain in these programs for several years. Research consistently shows that developing academic language, the very skill measured by the WIDA Access Assessment, typically requires 5 to 7 years. As Dr. Boley attempted to explain, students cannot be compared in such a simplistic way. Each learner arrives with different needs, ages, prior levels of education in their home country, and varying degrees of proficiency upon entry. I feel compelled to address this comment because it minimizes the tremendous effort and dedication of both our students and their teachers. Remarks of this nature should never be used to diminish the work of educators or to impose unrealistic expectations on students who are working diligently to succeed. This brings me to my next point. Your silence as a board is actually more alarming than the WIDA access scores. For example, many of the current board members chose to remain silent when parents raised serious concerns about the district's use of the balanced literacy curriculum. In fact, several of you went so far as to praise Ms. McCourtney's presentation in February, a presentation that was a clear attempt to minimize and even gaslight the legitimate concerns of parents. And now, as election season approaches, it is strikingly convenient to see some of the same board members suddenly posing tough questions and comments, such as the one I referenced today. Let me be clear, we see through you. And Dr. Falco, in terms of the math exams, math is no longer universal and as simple as you claim. It is much as exercise in reading comprehension as math. So please be mindful of that when referencing MLL students and their scores. So no, uno no es simplemente uno en cada idioma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Neil Shaw, 1 Jennifer Court. Last Friday, we went to a football game, and we didn't know all the rules because I did go through EB website to look at campaigning rules. And on Monday, I got a note via email. I only have 3 minutes, so I'm not going to read the entire note, but I'm going to paraphrase. Policy 7210 says, excuse me, says that I am in violation of campaigning and solicitation, holding rallies or meetings, posting of materials, use of school resources, or, and this is my favorite, wearing campaign apparel, which is actually against the First Amendment. I went back and looked, see if where I can find this particular notice. It doesn't exist. This is a real intimidation thing that the board has sent out. There is no 7210. So I sent back a note saying, where is this? Where was it reported? Where was it adopted? Next day, I got a message saying, sorry, it was a typo. It's actually 7510. 7510 governs facilities, application fees, insurance, and priority. Not what, this was tailored. It was made on the fly, and it was tailored. Now, President Gloss, we saw you on the field at halftime. If that's not campaigning, I don't know what is. East Brunswick deserves better. Please, do better.
Jeff Winston, Fresh Ponds Road, East Brunswick. Jane, I knew I recognized you from somewhere. I was sitting in front of your poster. I just realized at the game the other day, so on your senior poster. So there you go. About 17 months ago, I had formed a group online, eventually becoming EB Action, and the theme of that group was change the board, change the culture, and change the result. I got to tell you, tonight's meeting was so different than any meeting that I've ever seen from this board. And then I look at the faces of many, and you're all new, or just here for such a short time. So the board did change. The results will change, but the culture is so different. Dr. Tanius, your questioning is just insane. I mean, it's so spot on, and it's so great. Dr. Figueroa, the right questions. Dr. Braun, fantastic. Ms. Herrick, oh my God. I mean, and what's interesting is President Guas and her predecessor used to use a phrase, don't do your research, that's not your job. Every one of you, Dr. Falco came out with something that happened in 2024 regarding food insecurity. You did your own research. You brought more value in this meeting than I have ever seen. I'm super excited. And then Dr. Boley gave her presentation, and three words I've never heard used in a presentation tonight: planning, measurements, and goals. Ever have I heard that in the 7 years that I've been involved with this board, or in one capacity or another. The only piece I would ask that you add, I think Dr. Figueroa said to codify or memorialize, I think you said the 5 priorities, which I love that idea. Put it on the website, put deliverable dates, put check-in dates. When are you going to come back? Give a progress report on every one of those. I know it's campaign season, I can tell. You could tell, and I could tell there's a new superintendent on the way, because I think the administrators now are really showing what they were all capable of all along. Change the board, change the culture, change the results. I applaud this board. There's 2 remaining members from the old school in this board. I hope desperately we continue down this path and replace both Lee Wu and Heather Guas with any 2 new board members. I don't care. I don't need to win. I would love to win and get back on the board, but we will change this board as it's been done. The culture will change, and I congratulate this board on an exceptional meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jack Levitt, 4 Springfield Road. It's election season in East Brunswick, as we know, seeing things that are all too familiar. The signs are out, social media is on fire. One candidate's fake troll account even pulled me in, and I'm not even running. But I want to address something super disturbing. As we know, there are 4 of you running for re-election, which is admirable. To that end, I was really upset to hear from some friends that one of the incumbents running was trashing and telling lies about another incumbent's agenda and political motives. That just doesn't fly, and it's inexcusable. Each one of you committed, you took an oath to work together in order to do what's best for our kids. You're a board member first and a candidate second in the eyes of this community. Please act that way. I want to point out that when Dr. Tanios put something campaign-related on social media, Dr. Braun actually complimented the post, even though they're running against each other. I'm not saying you all need to do that, but please stop talking trash about each other behind their backs. We put you all up there to do better than this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Hi, guys. Fran Snow Eyes, Schindler Court. I will echo some of the words today. I am so excited that we are having the difficult conversations that I have been pleading and asking for so long. So I applaud you. I know it's not easy. So thank you, each and every one of you, for that. I do want to give a shout out to Bouchard. He is, I think, in a place where he's not so green anymore, and he's been doing a really good job in moving the high school to a place where we're just doing things better. Even so much as, on Thursday morning after September 10th last week, after Charlie Kirk, it kind of rocked everyone in lots of different ways, and he acknowledged it in the morning and addressed it and didn't ignore it. And that's bravery. And he let all the kids know that they have a place that they can turn. I just really wanted to quickly also share with you, Tim, there is training, and I thought it was really important that if you haven't seen it, the training is happening now for the new adaptive testing between the 15th and the 29th. There are multiple sessions that I pulled up here, just Googling it while I'm sitting here. The letter was sent out on the 12th last week. They extended the admission, they extended the signing in for this, whatever the training is that they have. You have until tomorrow to sign up for it. And the dates run through September 16, 17, 18, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 30th, 1st, and 2nd. And they vary in virtual and in person. But we've got to sign up tomorrow if we haven't done that already. So if you want to look for that and you want to find it, you can go to the nj.portal at cambiumast.com. It's all there. So it's there. So don't worry, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran.
Long time no see. For Antoinette Evola, 45 Merrill Avenue. I wanted a very good presentation. I really was pleased with it. I'm sorry I missed the beginning, but again, excellent questions by the board, which caught me up to what I missed, and I was able to see the plans, and I would really appreciate that, so thank you. I did have some questions about the numbers. So Bound Monroe had the highest, Warnsdorfer also highest, and then Chittick was lower. Even though you said they had improved, it still was low. I'm wondering if Bound was higher because they have smaller size classrooms, which brings me to one of the things you guys are going to be voting on tonight, which is class size. So please keep that in mind if that is one of the things that you think has improved their test scores versus the other schools. Warnsdorfer is one of the only two schools who don't qualify for Title I, which means that those parents might have a better option for those students to get supplemental education outside of the school. So I'm wondering if you guys did a survey there to see how many of the kids actually do get tutoring or summer school, different programs for specific students to enhance them and not have the sliding scale. So that's one of my questions. The percentage of economically challenged students, do we find them in one specific school, or is that percentage just scattered throughout the whole entire school, because the whole district? Because if it is one specific school in the district that just happens to be higher than the 40% needed to get Title I, is that something that we could do? I know you guys said you're going to be using the Title I money to tutor the children. Is it just going to be for the children who are free and reduced, or is that Title I money going to be used for everyone? Because if it is a school that has a higher percentage of free and reduced students, and there happens to be the school that is also the lowest number, maybe a lot more of that money for the Title I money should go to that school and for the, to teach those students. So that's another question I have. I don't know if you could answer me, but that was it. Hold on. Another question I had. I know that we can't include the 9th grade testing scores in our high school scores because they're technically not in the high school. I'm wondering why the board, during the year that you guys decided to bring the TCUs to Churchill, I'm hoping somebody did. I looked through all of the meetings, and I was actually here during those meetings, so I didn't hear that said publicly, so maybe that happened in private. Did anybody say, why don't we just put the TCUs at the high school so that this way we can put a little bit of more pressure on the district to say, hey, they look like they're living in the clubhouse. Let's bring them to the regular building. And at the same time, for the last 4 years, however long it's been, we would have been able to have those testing scores included in the test scores. So maybe that would have went a bit higher than it is right now. We also see listing the children who have 504s and IEPs. Now, you got Bernie. We got to work on that.
You did well.
504s don't always mean learning disability.
Ah. All right, is there anyone else wishing to address the board? All right, then I'm going to close the public portion. Can I mention about the email?
Which email?
The one that we all received?
Yes.
Oh, I do want to clarify. I believe, I mean, I know I did, I believe all of the current candidates received an informational email about the rules regarding campaigning on school property, as both an email and a hard copy. Who else am I looking at up here? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was a little bit perplexed at the policy that was listed, because I thought it said that it only applied to partisan politics.
Well, all I wanted to bring up here, rather, because we don't have it opened, but I just wanted to say, all the candidates received that. Everyone did. So, just to clarify that, all the candidates at this time received it. All right, we are moving on to our full agenda. I had planned to go through item by item, but due to the hour, I think I'm just going to ask for a motion to move the entire agenda, but then I'm going to open it up for discussion for the entire thing, because there's quite a bit here tonight, so it doesn't limit our discussion in any way. It's just going to ask you to call attention to the page number so we can all get in the same place. So, can I have a motion for the entire agenda? No?
Can I,
There's some things I wanted to discuss, if that's okay?
No, we can discuss
Oh.
after.
Yeah, you have to do a
we
motion
can-
and a
second, and then
A motion,
Okay.
second, but then we
Okay,
can.
so
discuss.
motion.
Okay.
Did you motion?
I had,
To discuss the agenda, right? Yeah. So-
Okay.
I second the motion
Okay.
to discuss how we break up the agenda.
I had asked for a motion
This is
to
a-
move the entire agenda. You can, after that, discuss any portion. We're just not gonna, I'm not gonna call for one section at a time. The discussion is still open for all of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Right, Jamie, you're okay?
I
with
need
that?
a motion for that.
She's laughing, yes?
I don't
No,
know. I need a motion to move the entire agenda. Anyone?
So we have a question.
So,
Can we still abstain or amend?
Absolutely.
absolutely, every
Yes.
one of them, yeah?
Yeah.
Then, okay, I motion.
Thank you.
second.
And Wilbur. Thank you. Okay, discussion. We're going to start over here and just work our way around because it's a big agenda. Wilbur, anything?
Yeah, I have one main thing I'd like to mention. I know this has been a topic of discussion regarding the policy regarding cell phones. As the policy stands, there's no cell phone use for sixth grade and under, and seventh grade and up. Cell phone use is only allowed during lunchtime. I know that some of this discussion has been generated by the events, the recent events that caused lots of cell phone use that we probably don't really want kids to be engaging in. But first of all, I want to make sure that we understand the procedure here in terms of any potential modifications to the policies that already went through the first reading. So specifically, I'm thinking that it might be a good thing to have a bell-to-bell cell phone ban in school for a variety of reasons. But first, I want to just make sure that we understand the procedure here. So we have a lot of policies that are up that have already gone through a first reading. They're here for a second reading tonight. So just to go step by step, if we decide to amend the cell phone policy tonight, does it then have to go through a first reading and then a second reading?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, hold on, the cell phone, that particular cell phone policy is a regulation. So the regulation requires one reading.
One reading, okay, so
Yes.
then we can get that done tonight?
If- Yes.
Okay. Is that,
Yes.
That's correct.
okay, great, great. Okay,
If there's a
so-
substantial change on a policy that has gone through a first reading, but you're making a substantial change at second reading, that would have to start again with a first reading.
Okay.
If, on a policy, not on a regulation.
Okay. So then we can get that all done tonight, just read it. Okay, great. So then that's the thing that I would like to propose is to modify the regulation so that it's a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones. And the main reason is actually not because of the events that happened recently. The main reason is because the data actually supports the benefit of a bell-to-bell cell phone ban across the board. And it seems to me that if we are to implement such a policy, we should be following where the data, what the data shows. And the reason it took me a while to get to this point, but I also was uncomfortable with the idea of modifying the regulation in reaction to an event that may or may not happen again. I won't go through all the details of that. But it did strike me that the data and the evidence that we do have regarding the benefits of a cell phone ban are regarding regulations that don't allow cell phone use at all during the school day. And we can talk more about the pros and cons of that, but I'll just leave it at that.
Anna?
Yeah, I actually don't mind that students are able to use cell phones during their lunch period. If you think about the kids who are, grade 7 and up, they have got 80-minute periods. That's a long time for kids to be quiet and concentrating. And for them to have, first of all, they have such a short lunch period at Churchill to start with. The fact that they want to be on a cell phone, that doesn't bother me in the least. It is very disturbing, and that's it's like a Pandora's box, because it's the way that the culture is right now. I'll be honest, I'm dying to look at my cell phone right now to see how many likes I got on my Facebook page or whatever, okay? And honestly, right? I play Pokemon, okay? So I could be missing a gym battle right now. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Oh no, it's too late. They're over. Okay, never mind. However, the fact that sometimes kids need a few minutes. When I was teaching and I would get to the lunch period, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is talk to anyone. I need a few minutes to decompress. So if a kid can do that, decompress, put their headphones on, listen to music or whatever they're doing, that doesn't bother me. I also think that it could be difficult for parents who need to say, hey, I'm going to pick you up today, but I'm going to be a couple of minutes late. Don't freak out. Or take the late bus, or you need to get home on time because you've got to babysit. That doesn't bother me in the least to have them give that chance. Now, it's totally unfortunate that, I was just going to say students, but it's not just students. Adults were posting pictures on social media, and Tim addressed this a little bit earlier, that were truly disturbing, and I don't care who you are, it was cruel to be doing some of the posting, and these were from adults who should know better, to be posting a picture of somebody getting killed. I don't care what anybody's politics are, that is disgusting. And what I would like to, well, that's how I see it. So we have adults who don't do so well at adulting. So is it really a shock when we have kids who do things that are not appropriate? The difference is, at least with the kids, we can work to teach them right from wrong, and say, this is not appropriate, that you shouldn't be doing this, have some humanity. So I know I diverged there, but I'm not at all a problem with keeping the phones during lunch periods. Thank you.
Lori?
I appreciate the conversation that we're having here. I'll say, personally, for me, I don't think that I've been kind of quiet in the community about a bell-to-bell ban, but I also want to appreciate the fact that when I brought this to the policy, like when we were having the policy committee meeting, the question that I asked was, why was the regulation not bell to bell. And so during that committee meeting, the discussion for that centered around the fact that feedback had been given by teachers and administrators at the upper grades that they felt that this was the first step, or they felt that this was the correct step for them to go in. And I also appreciate the fact that I do know that parents feel the need to want to sometimes have to reach out to their especially older kids during the school day when they may have to pick up siblings or there's school emergencies. But I also, on the other hand, because I've asked, Dr. Valesky, and we've talked about this, about to having the availability to go to the office, or that we would never stop a student from taking an emergency call, from a parent or a family member, or having to go to the counseling office to speak to somebody. So I'm going to say I appreciate the hearing and having this conversation out of policy committee and here, because I think it's important for everybody to be able to say their thoughts here. And are we just commenting on this,
No,
or we're
whole
commenting?
agenda.
Okay, so I also just want to say thank you, and it's like amazing that we're receiving a gift of $100,000 from Michael Seibel for the IPPO program, robotics program, and e-gaming club. I think that's absolutely amazing. I think that'll go a long way to supporting the students in those programs. And I also thought it was pretty cool that the New Jersey Performing Arts Center decided to donate surplus equipment to us. So I'm excited to see that. As well as just a question that I had regarding the Middlesex County Adult Education Consortium. And I don't know if you guys know the answer, but do you know why Perth Amboy left the consortium? No?
No.
Okay. I mean, we'll take it. Their money.
They don't want it, we'll take it.
Right, they
There
don't
was
want it,
no
we'll take it.
explanation.
I just wondered, okay, perfect. And I think that's all for my questions and comments right now. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm in favor of a bell-to-bell ban. I just want to express my opinion on that real quick. I think, and I appreciate the dialogue. It's healthy. And I understand it's delicate on many levels too. So I don't know about everybody else here, but I find it like, it just drives me insane when I see a group of kids are standing in a circle and just doing this. And I do this. And my own phone, to your point, drives me crazy. I feel a strange attraction to it and a desire to, like, when I'm with my family. And that's something that I need to work on. This is the 30 minutes. I don't know how long lunch is, but for 7 through 12, 20 minutes of like the most unstructured time when kids are sitting together at a table. And I just don't agree with the fact that we would allow them or take away the opportunity to just engage. I think, and I've talked about this too much, and I will probably continue to do that, but I just think that is vital time for these kids to develop their relationship building skills. Prior to us having these, things came up. Life was complicated as much back then as it is now, but we still found a way to communicate. They can call the school if a child needs to reach their parent. Those channels can be put in place. And so if we do move in this direction, I don't think it should be a swift move. I think that there should be a plan, and it should be rolled out. I think that it's something that we should put in place over, it's a 60-day action plan or something, so that by this point, everybody is acclimated to it. And I'll just share, the final thing that really, and Wilbur, you make a good point, right? And these instances will come up, but my 12-year-old, a seventh grader, came home the day after the Charlie Kirk's shooting and watched that scene on a friend's phone while sitting in the cafeteria at one of our schools. And it struck me as just so awful. We have pretty strict bans on my kids' phones, right? They don't have YouTube. They don't have the social media channels. That's our choice. It doesn't mean that he wouldn't have observed that on his way home on the bus, that he may be at a friend's house the next weekend, that he couldn't have access to that. But the fact that he was sitting in school during school hours watching an assassination is a problem, I think. And it's not going away. And so we, as a unit and a team here, have to consider that. And I just think that whatever we can do with what we have control over, we should try to take advantage of that. My final other question was regarding the buses, excuse me, the purchase of the 5 buses. Huge ticket, right? That is a ton of money that we are preparing to put out. And I know we've talked about this in the past, but these 5 buses, I assume, are going to be replacing 5 current buses, correct?
Yes.
So are the 5 current buses safe to transport children and adults?
I'd say yes. Right now, they are.
And will they be for the remainder of this academic year?
Yes.
So why are we spending almost $1 million on 5 new buses?
It's part of the replacement cycle.
It's all good. I don't, I can't help but think that there's a better way to spend that money.
Well, under the shared, that's funded through the shared services agreement, so you can't utilize that money to do something else in the regular part of the budget. So that money was approved to
Right.
specifically replace the school buses.
But do we have to do that?
Based on the, look, it ultimately is going to be a board decision, right?
Yeah.
Whether the board wants to invest in maintaining the school bus fleet or not.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that the board has to consider is what happens with the school buses after year 8. We have extended warranties that carry with the buses up until that point in time. Beyond that, now we get into risks for major cost implications. Transmission failures, engine failures, brake systems, not regular maintenance, but large systems. So what's the cost implication of that? And how does that compare to the individual cost of replacement? What's the differential? I'm going to guess, and I started looking at this recently, but it's going to be a minimal differential in terms of whether the buses get replaced or whether they get deferred, and there's a big risk. And I think it's a matter of the risk. How much risk is the board willing to accept regarding the reliability of the buses that are going to transport the kids every day? Take that into consideration. A bus goes down, then we need to look for renting a bus. Because if a bus is going to be down for a month, I don't know how long it'll take to replace a transmission or an engine, just for example, but a bus goes down for a lengthy period of time, we'd have to look to rent a bus. There's a cost associated with that. So that's a component that has to be considered. So there are various pieces that I think are very important for us to keep in mind as we make a decision. Yes, it's a large amount of money, but part of that has been that the board made a considerable effort and decision in saying, we're going to replace our buses on a schedule to ensure that the fleet is operational on a consistent basis without having a risk.
I think that may have been a mistake. I think that some of that could be, I think both are true. My gut reaction to this is we can get through another year and allocate this close to $1 million to saving jobs and programs.
You can't.
We can't
utilize
allocate
those
that.
funds for that.
So the shared service agreement, and it's very unique to East Brunswick, the town and the board collaborate, and you use the bonding capacity of the town. The town bonds the money, so you're actually paying for it over a period of time. And the reason you use the town is the town has a very high bond rating, so you get the lowest interest rates possible, AAA. So when you do that, it's really a capital improvement. So even if you had $898,000 in your capital improvement budget to buy buses, you couldn't take that money and transfer it over to general operating. They're two separate budgets. So what you're doing is so that you don't hit your general operating budget for, like, repairs and stuff would come out of your general operating budget. So that you don't hit that, you collaborated, and the town's done this for years with the board, collaborating. And that's why the town uses your buses in the summer and stuff like that. So that's the reason. That money cannot be reallocated for the general purpose. It's only for this capital acquisition.
So if we didn't spend it, what happens to it?
If
we don't buy the 5 buses, do we save the money in our budget?
No.
It will never transfer over
Or to
into
your
the
budget.
regular budget.
Yeah, you just have less, less of a debt
Indebtedness.
payment
Right.
that you're paying over a period of years to the town.
So we would still be saving.
You'd be saving yeah, but you're not, you'd be saving money because you're making it's like making a car payment in essence. And the town is, Chevy, and you're making a payment to Chevrolet for the car that you bought over a 5 or 6 year period.
I don't know if I'm fully wrapping my head around all of it. To me, it's just like, if we don't need it, it's a huge chunk of change. I get I think I get most of what you're saying, and I appreciate and I was probably voted on and was part of that process and that whole movement, but, I think we're gonna be facing another $8 million budget, deficit in, no time here, and, it's gonna be a huge thing, and that number jumped out at me. Is there anything that we can do to kind of wiggle through this so that we are not bleeding as badly as we anticipate we will be bleeding?
They're two separate pots,
Yeah.
and the one can't cross over into the other.
Go, talk.
Um,
I'm good. I don't have.
No, I was just going to keep bringing it back, and then I'll circle back. Is it fast? Go.
Just from, yeah, okay. So could we, not tonight, because it's getting late, could we at some point look at that, the 5-year and maybe go to a
Absolutely.
6-year? Okay, right, is that good, Tim?
We started doing that, just by
Perfect.
the way. We started to
Yep.
take a look at that.
Because I'm totally down with you, but we'll try to do that whenever it's convenient.
And if I just want to just remind everyone, my recollection is that that you guys got on this cycle, because right after COVID, if everyone remembers, in 2022, we would try to all forget that, there was huge shortages where you couldn't buy cars, you couldn't buy buses. There was, I think it was an 18-month delay. You couldn't buy fire trucks, police cars, nothing. And the one thing that the district has done, and I think you wanted to do, is bring more bus drivers in-house that were your employees, and so you guys have built up your fleet to do that. But the reason that I think the board got into this cycle too was just to make sure that you had buses coming in. God forbid there's another supply chain shortage where you can't get, you literally couldn't get buses, and there were districts that could not purchase buses and were buying old decrepit buses just to use.
Right, because that's not the case now, though,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, that's, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to get, that was the
Okay.
history of where
Well,
it came from.
that's not where the cycle came from, though.
Right.
I mean, there was difficulty with getting large pieces of equipment like that as a result of COVID, but the cycle on the bus replacements was something that the board had decided they
Okay.
wanted to do.
So we can look at that
Absolutely.
at another time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Public comment needs to be down. The board's discussion is right now. Thank you.
So I just wanted to piggyback off that for clarity. I know that we had moved towards having our own fleet of buses, which I have been hugely in favor of because I have found that the drivers that work for us have better relationships with our children. They're a known factor for us. And so I like the stability that having our own drivers and our own buses offers for our community. Altogether, I've seen greater satisfaction from the parents and the students. But part of the problem, as I understood it, was that as the buses go past their warranty, just like with our own cars, they begin to break down. But when they break down, that does come out of the same fund as staff, right?
Yes.
So that's where the discussion has always gotten tricky in my mind, is that to buy the new buses comes from over here, but if we keep these and they begin to break down, then it does become a decision of do the buses run or staff. So I agree, it should be more of a conversation. But that's where the different fundings on the budget get complex, because do I want to see a major spend like this? No, the budget is very scary. But at the same time, do I want to have buses start breaking down and have teachers coming out of the classroom? Absolutely not. So you're right, it's a complex issue, and we should come back and discuss it more. I also wanted to thank, I wanted to thank the Municipal Alliance for their grant. I also wanted to talk about, sorry, I've turned back too many pages looking for the buses, and now I wanted to thank Michael Siebel for He was recognized by the partners in Excellence Dinner at just the last dinner. He was amazing. He was very, very invested in the IPPL program here, in the robotics program, and in e-gaming, and what he could do to help our students further, it is so nice to see people want to come back and give back that have the means. I also want to thank the foundation, because that had to be worked out with the Education Foundation as a way to move the money through. And I wanted to thank Dr. Valesky and his team, because it turns out if somebody shows up at your door and says, hey, I want to give you $100,000 and you're a public school, it's not that simple. So there was a lot of work done on his part to figure out how this could be done in a way that would benefit the school, would do what Michael wanted to do for the district, and would work within the budget and be legal altogether.
Correct.
I was so excited when he first told me, and then he started talking about the complexities, and I was like, it's just never simple. Like, we just want to take the money. Thank you so much. I had one, about the cell phones. So I have mixed feelings. I don't have mixed feelings. I have very strong feelings about cell phones in school. I make no secret about the fact that I'm a high school teacher and have been for a long time. I dislike cell phones in the classroom very, very much. For everything that we talked about tonight, about student services, the way the cell phones feed into just HIBs and the way students relate to each other, it's too detached. They say things they would never say to each other's faces. They post things online. It is rough. And they are very young to be given that much access to the world. So I am very much in favor of the policy looking at to take it away during almost the entire school day. But also as somebody who works with students who may not be as privileged as all of our students, or we may think all of our students are, I know that when my students' phones go off and they look panicked, like 99% of the time, it's their mom. It's just always the mom. And they're like, Miss, it's my mom. I'm like, you're not allowed to look at that right here, but under the rules where I am, they do have certain times when they can look. But our demographic is changing. Our kids work. Our kids are picking up younger siblings. And we were just reading in class a book where the main character comes into the house and her parents left a note on the refrigerator. And my little freshmen raised their hands and they said, why did they do that? And I said, it was before cell phones. No one texted. And they were like, get out, really? Just like with tape? They had no idea that that's how communication used to happen in families. They are used to being instantaneously connected to their families in that way to share information, be it, I'm getting a ride to practice, I'm not. But I find that the students that I talk to that are talking about needing to be able to use their phones during the day aren't using it so much for decompressing. They all have devices. I mean, I've been in schools where the kids aren't allowed to use their phones during lunch. Every single kid is sitting in front of a computer like this, because it's all there too. I mean, their ability to build a tech wall around themselves is pretty strong. But what they are doing is they're not just figuring out, like, can my mom pick me up? These kids are figuring out, like, who can give me a ride after practice? What happens if I need to get the bus from Churchill to the high school? Then what? There's a lot of self-sufficiency that our kids do that I think that we didn't do when we were little. And I also know, like, I myself, I will talk about my big kid and she'll be real mad about it, but I've gotten a couple texts during lunch from my now college student that she was upset by something that happened and she just wanted a touch with mom that, like, I'm having a hard day. I just need to say somebody who's not going to judge me. Thank you very much. Here's 6 emojis. I don't understand what they all mean. And then she's just gone and I don't hear from her from after school and I worry the whole rest of the afternoon and she's fine. But I do think that the regulation as it is a nice midway point because I don't think they belong in the classrooms. I think it is distracting. I don't think it's good for their mental health. But I also think a complete cutoff is going to be hard for a lot of our kids whose families don't have the put a note on the refrigerator option anymore. It's just not real. And they need to be able to touch base. And they may not be able to see their parents. Like parents work odd hours. Everybody's doing their best. And if your kid's one way to talk to you during the day is like the quick text during lunch to feel better about whatever just happened in maybe math, might have been math, then I'm not against them having that little bit of access to their family. I just think that everything that they can get into trouble with, they kind of can with their laptops anyway. So would I like to keep them more sheltered and protected? Very much so. But I also want them to be able to talk to their families if they need to at one set point during the day, and then the rest of the day, just make them available to learn and not worrying so much about like what's happening in their phone nonstop. That's the end of my talk about Post-it notes on the refrigerator. Lewu?
Yes. So I want to thank EBEF and our high school graduates, Michael, for this $100,000. I believe this is only first batch and more money is coming. I want to thank EBEF past president Jack and current president Randy. They did a very good job. They got a magic way to connect the school and the graduates. I believe in other school districts, there are so many successful graduates, but they don't have any connection with the old school. So Jack and his team, now under Randy's leadership, you guys deserve all kind of credit. Thank you. And second one is about the curriculum. So on this agenda, we put 18 students for the FLEX program. So that's the total number of students for the FLEX program this year?
At this time.
At this time?
That will rotate throughout the year, Mr. Hahn.
Okay.
And you'll see, throughout the year, the board has approved additions to the flex, and then we have some students that will roll off.
Okay,
as
thank
well.
you for clarification. So I want to shout out for the item 8 and 9, the dual enrollment program. So the tuition is so high now, it's a problem for most of the families. But if your children can take credit at 1/10, less than 10% of cost compared with Rutgers, the same credit, why not take advantage of it? So in June, we have 5 students graduate with associate degree, right?
Correct.
So those students, while they're taking classes in high school, they earn their college credits. So basically, they save their parents hundreds of thousands of dollars. I urge every family, please take advantage of this dual enrollment program while your children enroll in high school class. Very important, very economic way to educate your children.
I was looking for Mrs. Blaylock when you said that, because
No, Sharon didn't laugh.
their family saved some money because their daughter graduated with an associate's degree this last year.
Yep. That's how I
She'll
have.
spend it on her master's degree or something.
Yeah.
Jamie?
Thank you. Just some remarks regarding the cell phone policy. When the initial policy was drafted, it was a slightly different world. You know, I weigh the merits of a bell-to-bell ban. The data certainly suggests that that would be the most effective for mental health for students. I also understand that in a modern day with convenience of technology, we have these really great devices to communicate our needs rather than lining up 25 kids in a hallway for the front office. My personal opinion should not matter. I believe that it's my job to reflect my constituents. So I personally feel right now this is a start. But what's important to know about policy is we can revisit policy anytime. This is not just a one-time thing. This will continue beyond today because it's a very important discussion. Our students' mental health is critical now more than ever. Some other remarks I have, just not to, get too much into it with the buses. I share sentiments with this board, but I also wonder if I was the parent whose child is on the 9-year-old bus with no warranty and that bus goes down, how would I feel? I understand that we also do sell these buses once we're done with them, so we do see an ROI back.
Yes.
So it's not just a lost kind of expense, okay. The other remarks I wanted to make, I wanted to thank EBEF, Mike Seibel, class of 2000, go team. I'm just really proud to be a bear every day. When you read things like this, it's a very gratifying experience to know that there are amazing people that have gone through this school and care the way that we do, that children have their best opportunities. And then I think I had one more thing. Yeah, I saw that we've had several grants that are in here that we've applied for and received funds for, so I want to thank all the people in finance who've worked on those grants. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Lou?
At this point, because we started over there, it's kind of redundant, but I do think there are a couple of things I'd
Are
like
you
to
like
say.
feeling, you're feeling
I'm feeling
Wilbur's pain? You're
Dr.
feeling it?
Pan's pain here. With respect to the buses, and Dr. Falco, you made a really good point. The safety of our children has to be number one at all times. But it does bring up another situation. We have, regular financial obligations that we incur based on what we have put together, every year. But some of those things had started many years ago. Now with the current budget crisis, I think we really should look at everything that, that used to be an automatic, let's buy them or let's go for it. And especially if it doesn't have to do with student safety or student well-being, I think they should at least be reviewed. And I know you do that all the time anyway, but I do think it's important for the board to understand that, there are maybe things that we can hold off on right now and hope for a brighter day later on. Maybe a while, but let's, maybe that's something we can look at. I also want to join my colleagues in thanking Jack, Randy, the EBEF, and of course Michael Seibel for his generous donation. And as we said, Mr. Hong said, hopefully there's more money coming after that. Please, I encourage all other graduates or other generous philanthropists that are looking for a good cause. I know it's a lot of work, Dr. Valesky and Mrs. Juliana, I appreciate that, but those are the kind of things, at this point in the game, when it comes to financial obligations and what we need to do in budgets, I think we have to really consider a lot, and that's really helpful. So thank you again, Michael Seibel and EBEF. At the third point about the cell phones, and I think, it's been said so well. Anyone who knows me for, many years, that I have not been a proponent of unlimited cell phone use in the schools. I do believe it does affect SEL or student, health and welfare. However, as I think it's been so aptly said, there are many, many differences now. Every year, there seems to be more and more differences. I think Ms. Guas brought out some very, very good points. Just giving you another example, soccer parents, basketball, baseball, you're on travel teams. There's changes daily, sometimes 2-3 times a day. And, if you're a child or a parent or single parent, even two parents in a house, it's almost impossible to get everybody where they have to be on time unless you know the information in real time. To have a small window, whether it be to listen to music or to connect with a parent or something like that, maybe it's I just need a hello, I just need a warm fuzzy emoji or whatever they are. I think we should really consider that at this point. I like what Dr. Falco said. She's right. This is the start. I would like to see the data on the schools that we're saying, bell to bell, and see if maybe possibly moving that up. If the data shows that our kids are healthier, feeling good, communicating more with each other, not on their phones, then maybe that's something we can bring up as the kids go up. But I do think this is a good start. I think is a good place to be, and I appreciate the board's work and also the constituents who gave me feedback to make me realize, it's hard to just go from something, where you can get someone to nothing at all. And in today's day and age, I think we need something for the kids and for the parents to be able to communicate immediately, and I think that's having it at lunch is helpful at this point. So thank you.
All right, so sorry, because you're last. Marianne?
Do I have a time limit, Bernie? Bernie's your watch out? No, so Michael Seibel and EBEF, thank you so much. I think it speaks volumes to a person who wants to give back to a community, and it also speaks back to this community that someone is so invested in it and believes in it because of what it was able to do for him. It echoes what we said earlier to Dr. Bowley, is like the excellence just continues. I don't think it took an NJSLA to determine that he was going to be a successful person. As far as the cell phone policy, I agree, President Guas, Dr. Falco, Dr. Figueroa, Dr. Braun, Ms. Herrick. I mean, I even agree with what with Dr. Pan and Mr. Cummings are saying, but as a single widowed parent, like that really resonates with me, being able to access my children with all the schedule changes. And I'm a big believer in that education is not just curriculum. Education is also what we're able to teach our kids as far as self-control. And being able to use a cell phone only at lunchtime is something they're going to have to learn. I mean, part of this policy is the consequence of not using your cell phone outside of the lunchtime. So I think that's really critical to drill into our kids so they're not one day sitting in meetings or in boardrooms and like texting or watching their Facebook, which Anna, I like to do too. But so that's my stance on that. I do have two questions on one for policy and one on an HR item. Can I bring up the HR item as well? Okay. Let me start with the policy. It's on the class size policy.
In the, you have the binder?
I do, yes.
Can you tell me what page that is, please? Or the tab?
Okay, so it's tab 4. It's the first item on
Oh,
tab
yeah.
4.
Thank you.
So there's a line, and it's Bernie, it's the second, page 2 of 2. And there's a line that says, "The maximum number of students may be increased above the computed maximum as may be required by budgetary constraints," which basically would make this policy null and void if there's a budgetary constraint, correct?
Well, it would require the board's action at the time that the budget's being approved. So
Okay.
the board always has the right to override.
Okay,
So that's what, it provides the board that ability. It's the board's policy as it is.
Right.
So, we've got instances where the existing policy may not be fully applicable. This provides some flexibility while also providing the guidance for what we want to do with class size.
okay, so should there be a budgetary change that would need to change class size, the board would have to vote on that first?
It would be
Yes.
part of that overall review. We had that situation with the current budget, where there was the potential for implications in class sizes, and the board was aware of that, so that was part of the overall discussion in finalizing a budget.
Okay, and so like, for example, the maximum for 5th to 12th grade, maximum class size is 25. What do we do about classes that are over that right now? Would that be a change for this year, like for right now? Because I do know there are classes that have 26 kids, for example, so what happens there? Next page, sorry, page 1 of 3. Next, yeah, the very next page.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Or would we be in violation of the policy? Yeah.
It would, again, it would be, the board would, with its knowledge, exceed what the policy max is by virtue of its approval of the budget. So that would all be part of the conversation. So, it's going to come down to what are the financial resources available to do what we need to do to maintain class sizes within the ranges that are here, or having to make the decision that we're going to have to exceed what these class sizes are. I think it's important to have the guidance of the policy and the regulations regarding those class sizes, but also the reality that they may be exceeded.
But they're exceeded right now, so if these
Yes.
policies go into effect right now, are we violating our own policies?
In some instances, we may be.
So,
The other option is not to have a maximum indicated, and I'm not sure that that's something
no, I'm actually leaning towards, like, what do we do about classes that are over 25 students right now? How can we have a policy that we can't even abide by? I'm concerned.
It's a financial issue. it's a real financial issue that the board has to grapple with.
Can we what? Yeah, can we figure out how many classes right now are over 25 kids?
This is at the high school?
No, this one for the 25 is for grades 5 to 12. It's a 25 max.
I think we can get that information.
Okay, but we don't have to decide on this tonight then? Because I'm not comfortable voting on something if we're voting on it and we're saying the maximum should be 25, but we're over the maximum, like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
So you would want to change that maximum to a higher number?
No. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying, why are we saying, as, you know, as decision makers, why are we saying that 25 is the maximum, and yet we have classes with over 25? Like, it has to make sense. The policy has to make sense to, go ahead.
Just in that regard, are we also talking about classes that maybe we added another teacher or someone else in there? Is that why they're having it?
That was an option, Dr. Figueroa, that we always had in our previous policy. When we went over a threshold,
Right.
we would add an aide to the classroom to bring the instructor-to-student ratio down. But in this case, this really.
This is not without that?
That would typically be in the primary grades.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Primary grades would get an additional support in the class when exceeding certain thresholds.
Right.
Right? But in the upper grades, I don't think that's ever happened.
But I think this is more twofold, because we embarked, and Mr. Giuliano worked for about a year on analyzing every classroom space. What was the square footage of that classroom? And because not every classroom in East Brunswick is the same size. And so how many students can we legitimately fit safely and according to state standard in that classroom? But then that combined with the budgetary constraints, and realizing in some cases, we may have to start moving class size up a little bit if we can't afford to increase the professional capacity of the district based on budgetary constraints. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I just don't understand how we can have a policy that we're violating. Mr. Jacoby, can you tell us, like, is this a problem?
Can I just say also, I think A4, letter D, temporary fluctuations in the number of students enrolled in the school and in specific classes. I don't know if the enrollment trends are impacting the classes that you were referencing. And I
Sorry,
don't know if
Dr. Bull,
that's
you're on what?
A4, letter D.
A4, letter D, okay,
says these
temporary
guidelines are
fluctuations.
intended to be
No, but that's
flexible.
not, I'm talking about A2 with the chart of what our class sizes are.
So here's my, and I understand the dilemma with this, because it's a dilemma.
yeah.
You know, we've got resources, how much do we have in financial resources? How does that impact class sizes? It's not a perfect world. I would suggest that the regulation 2312, let's pull that from this, because perhaps the min-max piece needs to come out. It may be more, this is optimal. What we would expect to be an optimal level, without having that hard and fast, because then it eliminates the dilemma that we're talking about, without having the minimum and maximum.
I mean, my dilemma is twofold. My dilemma is class sizes are too large, and
But that's a direct money issue.
Right.
And it's also a space issue.
So-
So if you don't have classrooms, here are two ways to, so one is, class sizes potentially increase because the resources aren't there for additional teachers. That's one. The other is, if a facility is already fully utilized and we have an influx of students and there are no more classrooms to be able to be used in the building, that's unavoidable. Then you can't do anything about that. So one is money and the other one is space. So potentially two different issues.
But you're looking also for the data on how many we have right now.
right, that are
Right,
over,
okay.
because we
I think
can,
that
our
we can get, right.
policies have to make sense. Like,
Yep,
if we're
I
writing
understand.
policies, they need to.
I would suggest that that this
Can we look
get
at that?
pulled so we can make some changes. We can go back to policy, to the policy committee with some revisions. I understand what your point is.
Yeah,
And then we can bring it back to the board.
thank you.
It's a regulation, so you can act on it.
It's a regulation, it's
You
not
can
a
act on
reading.
it when you
Right,
need it.
And it's not
we
stopping
have to,
operations right now.
yeah.
And it needs to reflect the priorities of this board.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
This is a hard regulation because we want it to be like,
I know.
probably closer to the budget season where we're more concrete too.
Okay, and then my last question, sorry, is on HR, the HR on page 13.
So let me.
Not policy, the
Yep,
actual HR.
Yep, I'm going to
Different
the
one.
next batch of papers.
Yeah. The HR, no, I'm not, you don't, right?
And there
Okay.
was
An addendum.
a correction
Or
that was
yes.
on the dais.
Yeah, that's not my question. I'm on page, 2 items on page 13, actually. And just so I'm clear, I'm not allowed to mention names, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So let's
So
see,
my-
page,
yeah.
again, page?
13. The one that's labeled HR.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there are no employee ID numbers. But go ahead.
Yeah,
These
I
are
don't,
the
I don't
Title
need to,
I?
yeah, this is the Title I. So my
Yep.
question on Title I, these are salary increases?
No, no,
Okay,
not at all.
okay.
So let me just
Yeah,
address
please.
that, please. Page 13, which are the grant allocations, this is for Title I. The board has to identify the staff and the amount of their existing salary that's being allocated to the grant. So
Okay,
this is simply saying, and I'll use an example. Let's say we have a teacher at $80,000, and 50% of that salary would be allocated to the Title I grant. The resolution here would indicate that $40,000 of that salary is being allocated to Title I.
okay.
Okay?
Because
So this
it's-
is strictly identifying the amount of their existing salary that's going to be charged to the grant.
It's not an increase. It's not an
Okay,
increase.
not an
okay, okay,
increase.
okay, just making sure.
Not at all.
Thanks. Yeah, okay.
Nope, that's a good question.
Okay, and, this kind of ties into last time, because I know that when we talked about Title I and that all of our schools were Title I except for 2, this created a lot of discussion in the community. Can we just clarify, are our schools like a school-wide program, or are we the targeted assistance programs for our schools?
They're not school-wide.
They're not school-wide?
no.
Okay, so we're not 40%?
Correct.
Okay, so we're at like a 2% of each school, and that's what,
Yeah,
No,
we're-
it's over a 20% or 20,
Yeah, I
don't know,
forget
Josie.
what the criteria was,
It's
but I
like
just had
20%.
the question
Okay.
came in an email that I answered.
yeah,
So,
okay.
I don't remember what it was. I think it was the 20.
Yeah,
I
okay,
think it
but
was
I think
20%.
that
It's
the
not the
major.
40%.
Okay, yeah, the
No.
major clarification was that these are not school-wide programs,
no, no.
because
No,
that,
absolutely not.
that isn't reflective of
Yes.
how affordable our homes
No,
are.
our numbers are
Or
not at
unaffordable.
that point.
Yeah. Okay, and then last thing, on that same page, the Saturday detention, given that we are in a budget constraint, and given that we've had so much discussion about restorative justice lately, is there no other option besides the Saturday detention?
That's outside my wheelhouse. I can't answer that.
Whose wheelhouse is that? Dr. Valesky?
The reality is, yes, there are probably other options. There probably are.
Can we look into that
Yes,
instead
we
of
can.
this? Okay,
Yeah.
just, yeah,
I echo that. I think I said the same. I think I had emailed the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
and that's all, I'm done. Thank you.
There was an amazing moment 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3 years ago, where accidentally the Blackboard system contacted every single child attending the high school and said they had Saturday detention. And that was a good instance of when every child was happy to have a cell phone because every parent called and said, "What did you do?" That was awful. All right, Wilbur.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I thought I was just going to discuss my one point. I didn't get a chance to get to my other question. So just back to the cell phone, I actually did think hard about situations where you have single working parents, kids that need updates on things. But again, where I landed was the data that we have. And this data isn't that old, so the world really hasn't changed that much since these studies came out. The data that we have shows that a bell-to-bell cell phone ban improves mental health. And from my day jobs, I've seen this sort of thing a lot, where new data comes out that indicates that maybe we should change our practice in terms of dealing with one disease or another. And immediately, doctors go, well, my patient population is different, because no one really wants to, make a change. That's because doctors are human, just like everybody else is. So I just want to, bring that up as a point to think about. And that, my understanding is that there are ways for parents to get a hold of their kids during the school day, outside of sending a text. A text is certainly convenient, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to do so otherwise. And that's the only thing I just wanted to mention about that. I also wanted to thank Mike Seibel and Randy and Jack and the whole EBF team and the administration for facilitating the very generous gift for some very wonderful programs. In terms of my questions, these should be fast. On the travel report, I just want to double check. The travel report reimbursement also includes the cost of the training or whatever that the person did, right?
Well, it's what they're going to do, and
Yeah.
it's based off of what their professional development application had, so it could
Yep.
be a registration, it could
Yep.
be mileage if they're traveling
Yeah,
somewhere. and
but
so
that's all
forth.
wrapped up?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because maybe maybe a better title for this than travel report would be more helpful, because I saw that one of the items was for like $2,500 to go to
Right.
Edison, and it's like,
Right.
I know it doesn't.
But
yeah.
it's what the
Yeah,
what
right.
the law refers
Yeah.
to it as.
Yeah, I see.
Dr.
I
Pan,
see.
we had this conversation, I don't know
Yeah.
how many years ago we had the same conversation,
Mhm.
right, Mr. Crouchfeld? Okay.
Yeah. I started thinking about how many times you'd have to go up and down the turnpike to get to Edison to run up that. It was a lot. Let's see. And also just one quick question on the textbooks. There are a number of situations where you have one title, and it's usually a classic, like Hamlet or something, and multiple publishers. Is this just reflecting our inventory of textbooks that we have?
Dr. Bowley?
Yes, this is the inventory of everything that's in the
Okay,
district.
all right, good, thanks.
Hey, Anna,
Really,
go
I
ahead.
know, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just looking at poor Jean.
I see an open mic, I can't help myself. Just
Jane,
one.
First all-nighter for Jane. That's what it's
Oh,
gonna be.
Jane, go home. Wait, I'll write you a note that you should be excused from your whatever homework's due tomorrow morning. Okay. Well, with the cell phone and the fact that kids, if I understand, could go to the office, that's taking away instructional time. You have a kid, having worked at Churchill, if you're in the trailers, it's going to take you 6 minutes to get down to the main office. And then you're going to have to wait in line to use the phone. And now you're going to have to go back. So you're losing 15 minutes worth of time of instruction. And I don't like that, because then what's a teacher supposed to do? Stop instruction and say, oh, sorry, you missed the last 15 minutes. How do we make that time up?
Or
Just-
come up with a better communication plan.
There we go, Morse code.
I don't know. Penny? Okay.
So what am I removing?
So,
Really quick, Jane, really quick. So, on the agenda, Living Voices, I just want to say there's two that are done, The Right to Dream and Through the Eyes of a Friend. And I know that when the dates are made, it's sent out to board members, so we have the opportunity to go and observe. And I really encourage any board member who can to please go. It's a really great program. The kids are really invested. They ask really great questions. The performer that comes and does the historical perspective along with the video and the acting is really great. So please do that. Thank you.
Okay. The vote's going to be a little complicated because we're pulling some items.
right, so the first thing that is, well, we are removing Regulation 2312, which is the class size regulation. So since that was in the original motion, we need an amended motion to remove that regulation. This is strictly a motion for that, and that's a voice vote.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to remove Regulation 2312.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Anna, thank you. Discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, now we're down to the vote on the agenda without that item.
Which is a roll call
It's a
vote.
roll call vote, and folks may want to abstain or vote no on something. Just tell me what that item is, please.
Also, do be aware on the minutes, just be sure that if you weren't in attendance, you abstained from that item, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, so, we're on the roll call. Anna Braun,
Page 20,
first
I-
tell me what your vote, and then tell me if you're changing something.
yes on everything.
Okay, thank you.
Except page 20,
Yes,
item 2,
yes,
abstain.
yep.
Page 21, item 4, abstain.
That's minutes. Number 4. Noted, thank you. Timothy Cummings.
Yeah, yes on everything, no on policies and regulations.
All of them?
No, just the 5516.
Got it.
And a no on business and support operations, number 5.
Noted.
Thank you.
Jamie Falco.
Yes to everything.
Louis Figueroa.
Yes.
Lori Herrick.
Yes to everything. Oh, thank you. Yes to everything, except I am abstaining on number 5 under curriculum and instruction because I am a member of the Alliance. And for that, I will abstain.
Noted. Lee Woo Hong.
Yes.
Wilbur Pan.
Yes.
Marion Tangos.
Yes.
Heather Guas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, motion carries. We are up to committee reports, information items, and the good of the cause for the public. I'm going to be rude and start and go fast. I wanted to say that the board had the opportunity, I have the pleasure of serving as the board's representative to the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, which is RPAB. So I was already planning on going, but the board was also invited to go tour the new ice arena, which is in progress. It is a really, really impressive thing that is being built. And it was more than I imagined that it would be, because it has a lot of opportunities for the students to be there, not just as on the ice, but there's so much to engage them for viewing and for hanging out. And I just liked it's another place where our kids can go to cheer for each other. And I really appreciated the board members coming out because it was really early afternoon to get there, but we sort of trickled in and all got there to see it, which was exciting. I wanted to thank the cheerleaders for hosting the Tiny Cheerleaders. I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about it earlier, but it actually was why I was out on the track talking to Dr. Bouchard, because it's a fundraiser. And so many parents said, what was it, $35? It was very, very low. And the parents were like, I would pay for this again. My kid is so excited to be here. And they ended up bringing not just one kid, but the whole family came out to see the game, which was really lots of families, lots of little people, and pulling little people out of the bear den because they wanted to go hug the big people that they had met. But it was just very impactful to see our youngest children be so quickly attached to our oldest as role models. So congratulations on that. I really hope that the cheer team is able to, Dr. Bouchard said he liked it too, but I'd like to be able to see that again. I attended the RPAB meeting last night. We'll just go back to the Blaylocks again. We have a new student representative to the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board. So our youngest, Patrick's not our youngest. Well, Patrick Blaylock is our student representative there. But we discussed the recreational sports. We're very happy that the schools, some of the elementary schools included them in their back-to-school nights to come out and show kids the options that they have for recreation sports, like be more exposed. Some of the PTAs allowed them to come out and be at the ice cream socials. So they were out there trying soccer and lacrosse, and depended on which one that you were at. But there was a huge amount of interest, and it was just nice to see the kids have one more opportunity to see everything. And I think that's it for me. All right, starting over here. Anything? Lou?
Yes, I just briefly want to say thanks to everybody who stayed here all night. It feels like it's all night. I also want to commend my fellow colleagues on the board, as well as the administration. I think this was an outstanding meeting tonight. Now, whether it's because people are running, or I don't care. The questions were great, the presentations were great. I really felt that this is the way we should move forward. And I think, so again, I appreciate everybody from the administration who worked all day and came in and presented and answered questions, thank you. And for my fellow colleagues, thank you for asking those tough questions, because that's what people want to hear. Thank you. Everybody have a good night.
Jamie?
Same sentiments. I want to thank everyone for staying tonight. I want to apologize for the few yawns you saw. I was up very early today before the sun. I had the pleasure of filming a cooking segment for the Flavors of East Brunswick, sponsored by the Human Relations Council and EBTV. If you aren't aware of it, it's a quarterly segment that showcases diversity in our town through cuisine, sharing heritage, culture, and traditions. It was lovely. I was really grateful for the opportunity. I hope you guys check it out. I believe my segment will air around Christmas time, probably November-ish. There's going to be one coming out in October that's being filmed next week. Just a couple other things. I'm really proud of this board, proud of this meeting, appreciative of our community as well, because I think that your voices empower us to do the job we're doing and to keep working on being excellent for this town and for our kids. So thank you guys for inspiring us.
David?
So I went to Churchill for the orientation and back to school night. I want to thank those administrators, teachers, staff. They are doing a very good job, and they make families are very happy. Thank you for this. And I want to thank everyone staying with us this late. So whatever you said, we're listening, and we'll do a better job. Thank you.
Similar experience to Leewood with Back to School Nights. It's just a great community of professionals and great amount of talent and dedication. So thank you.
Lauren?
I also want to say Back to School Night, the high school was really great. It had a really good positive vibe. Jane, again, the little girls, were just adorable. And so as a member of the Cheer Booster Club, I think Jane and I will bring back all of your sentiments, because they love to know feedback as parents as to what we're doing that people like. And I think that's definitely been a hit for the past 2 years. And the little girls they really enjoy it. And I encourage people to come out and support our football team and our cheerleaders, as well as our other sports, athletics, clubs, Dying to Donates, PTAs. You don't have to be a part of that school to be a part of the PTA community, right? So just join it and be supportive is really important. And CPAG too, they have their first meeting October 1st. I also want to talk about the the State Board of Education meeting. I'm trying to go really fast. But Kaylin DuRose, who is our representative there, at the last meeting, she talked about sleep deprivation in teens. She gave a report, actually, and Jay, I feel
Violated that policy.
Yes. And she talked about adjusting school start times for high schools. And she talked about how here in EB, we changed from a 7:26 a.m. start time to 8 a.m. And she provided statistics and research and information to back up what she presented. She was complimented by the State Board and Kevin Deemer. And they asked her questions, and it was really great. I had originally planned to go in person and had signed up to speak, but I wasn't able to attend. So as a parent, I was able to send in testimony, and because the State Department of Education, the state BOE does not handle funding, I tried to spice it up a little. And so this meeting for public testimony, I focused on school funding and equity. So I tried to find ways to say, here, read what I'm writing. And then yesterday, since I'm our representative for the Garden State Coalition of Schools, I attended that meeting, There was guest speaker, Dr. Peter Mazzagotti from the Director of the Office of Educator Effectiveness at the New Jersey Department of Education, and I probably learned more about professional development plans than I ever needed to know as a board member. But hey, I'm ready now. We can go over the whole goal setting, circle, summer transitions, observations. It was great. So yeah, thank you.
All right, the pressure's on because I feel like I'm the only one standing between us and the end of the meeting. No pressure. No pressure. So day after.
25 minutes till midnight.
All right, okay.
Time.
25 minutes.
If you go for
So-
25 minutes, I get to say good morning.
Okay, so the day after Labor Day, you would think our students would be looking to wring the last bit of joy out of the summer. No. At Akihi Bubble Tea off of Route 18, there were two student groups that partnered up, Youth Voice in Action and Mockingbird Melody, along with API of New Jersey, API of East Brunswick, and the PETA Alliance, to run a voter registration drive. It was hugely successful. The place was packed. And we had more than 50 new voter registrations. And you would think, again, that this would be the last sort of thing that students would be wanting to do at the end of their summer vacation. But I think that just speaks volumes about how great our students are, that they would take the time to put something together like this, partnering across different student groups and with a local business, and with other organizations in town, to do something that is definitely for the benefit of the community. And then finally, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So if you see little gold ribbons around, that's what it's for. This, of course, is a subject that's near and dear to my heart, so I just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
All right. Oh, I did forget to add, I'm so sorry. For EB Day, we got roped in. I managed to do 34 years in the classroom before I got talked into this. But Dr. Bouchard and I think Mr. Levitt back there, got talked into a dunk tank for EB Day to benefit the Education Foundation, for which we are very grateful, the PBA,
wants to do that.
and the Mayor's Charity Fund. So come on out and abuse us for keeping you up this late and donate to charity. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Wilbur?
Second.
Anna? Discussion? No, fantastic. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you so much. We're adjourned.